Hey, it says I'm live. So welcome to the Hierophant. My name is Patrick. I just recorded a reading. So this is everything that's going on today. I decided to come live because I didn't like it was like a good 44 to 45 minutes. But I didn't use these cards enough during the month. So I want to come in and use them. I am in OBS today, so the cards will be upright for me and you. Also, I think I managed to get. I just ended up switching my microphone from the webcam mic to the laptop mic. So if you hear fans and stuff going in the background, sorry, not sorry. It is what it is. Um, so yeah, I recorded that on my laptop, so it's not yet uploading. But when I finish this, it will be uploading. King of Swords with that Two of Swords, girl, king. So I guess the King of Swords is back. Today's was kind of interesting. Oh wow! Now the King of Swords with the Queen of Swords. Okay, y'all, that wasn't intentional. Y'all saw me. Okay, well, how do I do this? Yeah, because I'm shuffling. So, wow, the King with the Queen. Who gonna be on top now? Oh, now the Queen of Swords with the Moon though. So, what was the King of Swords with? I already forgot. So, what am I doing today? I'm just having a jolly good time. I'm feeling like I'm in good spirits right now. I had a really interesting dream last night. A really interesting dream. It was a good dream. Oh, with that moon card. Okay, let's get into it. So, moon. First, I'm gonna read the entry. We're gonna go off the entry, and then I'm gonna vibe and see where we're gonna go with this. It's 2:23. I missed 2:22 by a minute. Do I got anything in this room that's a minute slow? Let me stop. How are y'all? I feel like I don't say that enough. I hope you're doing well. I honestly do. I know sometimes I talk like I don't necessarily. I mean, because at the end of the day, either you're doing well or you're not, and either you're gonna do something about it or you're not, right? So it ain't like there's too much I can do about that. But I hope you're doing something about it, and I can still hope you're well. I hope you're doing everything you need to be doing. Things may look a little tilted today. It is what it is. Like Kesha said, it is what it is. Keywords are untamed, instinctual, intuitive, deception, and hidden fears. The moon card. Oh, this is by Emily Balavé. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her last name right. I'm sorry, Emily. The moon card traditionally speaks to the dual aspects of our animal nature, to both our wild and uncontrollable urges, as well as our instinctual responses. The moon goddess, Luna, there's Luna again, girl, can't escape her. The moon goddess is crowned with horns of a wild animal, and her staff is topped with the symbol of chaos. Let me hold her up. Let me hold her up so y'all can kind of see. There you go. Why did this just start playing music? I actually love this song. Coming on board. Giving a little bit more. So this started playing music, but Rob Zombie Dracula just popped into my head. Dig through the ditches and burn through the witches and slay. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I must be in a really good mood. I'm in one of those moods where things are just a little extra funny to me. But it's lighthearted and I love it. I get them. I find myself in this mood quite often, actually, where I'm just like so easily entertained and I just laugh at everything. But I love it. Um, I'm sorry if you didn't find it was that funny, but it was hilarious to me. The moon goddess is crowned with horns of a wild animal, and her staff is topped with the symbol of chaos. Her gown has many patterns, which symbolize a scattered influx of thought. The glowing full moon behind her, full moon, here we go, represents her deep intuition, which illuminates and guides her. She is the queen of hidden meanings, and when her influence catches us off guard, we may find our thoughts run wild, causing deep anxiety and confusion. Anxiety is a useful tool that warns us when our current pattern of behavior is unsafe, unwise, and detrimental. Something must change. The light of the moon can also bring you lucidity and guide you to the correct path if you trust your instincts to lead you through the darkness. I went on a little rescue mission in my dream last night, and I my dreams be super weird, y'all. I'm gonna grab the SKT because I'm about to try to get into this full moon Capricorn lunar eclipse. Because why not? You know, she's basically talking about it. Do I want to lay these down first? I'll lay these down first. Oops. Okay. Oh, well, did y'all see that? All right. Yeah, she's still face down. Work, queen. Okay. Well, there's another one. Ooh, that Eight of Cups though. Yeah. If you ain't walk away before, girl. I feel like this Eight of Cups is less about walking away. Okay, this may be my initial interpretation of this Eight of Cups is less about walking away from something and more about walking towards something. I feel like with the full moon Sagittarius lunar eclipse and with the solar eclipse, there were certain ties that were cut, certain things that were made very clear, very plain, but I don't think we've necessarily walked towards why it all happened. And so I think it's time to, like, you've already walked away from whatever you needed to walk away from. Now it's time for you to walk towards whatever you need to walk towards. And then we have this Ace of Wands. I'm feeling a little bit of a wave. I can't even remember what I was literally just talking about before this came out. I find it really comforting that it seems like most of the time I have a mission in my dreams now. I don't have to do it alone. And it's really interesting. Like, I have lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of really interesting dreams. And there's never been anyone consistently there to really... Honestly, in most of my dreams, there's like never anybody there to do anything. It's like me doing everything. Like, I'm the only person trying to fight. I'm the only person trying to do this. And I'm trying to protect everybody else at the same time. But now it's like whenever, and I don't have them too often lately, but whenever I do, there's always somebody there to help me out. And it's so interesting because before this person started helping me, I guess before we started helping each other, I remember I had another dream that was about me trying to, like, there were certain people who were in spaces, and I was trying to get them out of that space without them being noticed. But it's like I could enter the space fine, but I was trying to get them out. And so I was getting the last person out, and then this car just pulls up, and they're like, "Get in." I'm like, "Whoa, like, what are you talking about?" It was like, "Just get in, like, we gotta go somewhere." I was like, I couldn't be like, "I'm in the middle of a mission right now." But I was like, "Where are you going?" And they were just like, "We're gonna go down the street and then we're gonna turn left." And I was like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna have to sit this one out because I'm kind of in the middle of something." And so it was, I don't know, it was just interesting because it was like I was in the middle of a mission and apparently they were in the middle of one or about to start one, but I was already busy, and that was like my last person to get out. But it was really interesting. Bottom of the deck is going to be that Six of Cups, and look at the moon. Wait, I don't have to do it upside down anymore. Le moon. This is about some Filipino person getting some ice cream from this Filipino ice cream person on the street. I believe. I will read it though. I'm liking how that sounds today. But yeah, I had that dream a long time ago, and then there's been a few dreams, like I said, I've been kind of sort of, especially since like a month before the lunar eclipse. Actually, for the past few months now, kind of sort of, I haven't been engaging with the collective as much when it comes to like all that dream and astral work, I guess. Um, which is interesting. It's very, very interesting. But now, again, like whenever I do, I have help, and my help is like really, really good because things are just so much less stressful. It was also interesting though, because in this dream space, like I haven't really talked to this person in a while. And so now whenever I see this person in the dream space, it's not like awkward, but it's like that conversation's cutting to the Ace of Cups. That conversation hasn't happened. And so in the beginning of the dream, it's like it kind of sort of started. Okay. It started one way, but as soon as we met up, it was like it was time to go. So that whole conversation that we would have had was like short. It was abridged, and honestly, it kind of didn't. Ooh, the Empress with that Holy See, Empress and that Hierophant energy. Um, that Hierophant always be coming out. I see the Empress quite frequently in this deck too, honestly. Six of Swords with the Empress. Like I said, it's time to move. Um, yeah, we had a little bit of a chat. Some of it, like, I'm actually gonna flip this over, cause then, ooh, Ace of Pentacles, cause then they come out face down more often when I do that. And we're just gonna throw a card on top of all of these. Ooh, and there was the Seeker. There we go. Can y'all see a little bit? Oops, well, I'm not gonna. Ooh, girl. I'm not gonna take these, but that Moon card though, that Moon card at the top, she means I gotta take them. And there's 3 cards here. I'm gonna flip these upside down. Where am I gonna put these? Overall. We'll see. These will be like the last things we look at. That'll be interesting. It's almost like some of the conversation happened like intuitively. I guess I don't know. It was just a really, really, really interesting dream. Girl. There we go. Oh, and it went right on top. Nice. But yeah, I don't know what I'm doing with this. Oh yeah, this is like just gonna be some energies around the Capricorn. Nope, y'all ain't come all the way out. Oh, that was the Archangel of Mysteries though. Some energies around the Capricorn full moon lunar eclipse. And then we're gonna have a total solar eclipse in December. And there's always a lunar eclipse before or after a solar eclipse. So I guess we'll be having a lunar eclipse. I don't know if it's before. I know people have been saying we have 6 eclipses in 2020. So it has to be before the solar eclipse in December. And I only know it's a solar eclipse in December because I looked it up on the last solar eclipse because I was like, I want to go see totality one day. And I was like, I might as well go to a different country while I do it too. You know what I mean? So I looked it up because my sister was like, I'm pretty sure they kind of sort of happen fairly often. And I was like, oh yeah, I mean, I guess they do. And that's when I looked it up. Oh, I love this. Y'all just like cooperating today. Okay, alright. Oh, wow. See, I ain't even gotta. And I get 2 cards. I was like, I wonder if I'll get 2 cards or 1 card. And 2 cards came out. And 1 card came out for everything else. Ooh, this 5 of Swords though, y'all. Oof. This is about us really getting out of that victim mentality. Especially with this 5 of Swords, and I'm going to read it, but especially with that 5 of Swords, that's about putting victim mentality down and really claiming our power and being like, you know what? You got me, and you got me again, and you got me again. But the buck stops here. I ain't passing it. And bottom of the deck is the discerning one, 2 of Wands. So we got the 2 of Wands and we got the 6 of Cups. So interesting. Is this Mars and Aries? This is Mars and Aries. The discerning one, 2 of Wands, Mars and Aries. There you go. Mars and Pisces is the 10 of Cups, by the way. And I know I've talked about it on my channel before. But it's like, it made me so confused and high key upset when I got that Ten of Cups and I saw Mars and Pisces, and the whole narrative that I was hearing about Mars and Pisces is Mars and Pisces doesn't know what to do. Mars and Pisces is in illusions. Mars and Pisces, blah 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 blah. Wait until Mars goes into Aries. When Mars and Pisces is the energy of the Ten of Cups, Mars and Pisces is Mars giving us the push to actually fulfill our own dreams in that Piscean energy. Mars and Pisces moves it from the realm of illusion and fantasy into the realm of reality. And y'all telling me to wait until Mars goes into Aries for why? Hello? But I've also been feeling a lot of it. I think one thing in this zodiac season, one thing I guess since quarantine started for me specifically, since the nodes shifted, I look at astrology more in terms of cycles. So when it came to the nodes, and it started because I was like, I don't know what the North Node in Gemini and what the South Node in Sagittarius fully is. Like I can't put my thumb on it. And so it started off by saying, okay, well, the South Node was just in Capricorn, and the North Node was just in Cancer. So we're looking at the lesson that we were supposed to have just learned, and now we're pushing it forward now. So the lesson when the North Node was in Cancer is to connect to the heart, connect to home, connect to family. Mostly connect to the heart. And now that the North Node is in Gemini, it's like, okay, we've connected to the heart. Now what do? Well, with Gemini, we do something in our local community, in our, like, with what we have access to, with the tools that we have, since Mercury is the magician, with the tools that we have, we make something happen, right? It's like North Node went into Gemini, and now people are trying to go into that, like, Cancerian energy, where it's all like, oh, it's don't look at anything happening outside. Close your eyes tight, plug your ears, and then just find that peace within yourself. And it's like, no, finding peace within yourself should have been when you were connecting to your heart. When the North Node, you had 18 months in Cancer to do that. Now it's in Gemini. Gemini is about action, the magician, the lovers, choices, action and choices. It's about doing something. South Node is in Temperance. South Node is sitting back patiently waiting for it to resolve itself. That's what we're not doing. South Node was just in Capricorn, where maybe government was a huge focus of scrutiny, especially, before May 5th, when we were in that quarantine time and stuff was starting to happen and people were starting to look at the government like, what's really tea, sis? Like, what's real tea? Like, I don't want that water and sugar concoction you was giving me before. I want all natural, straight off, plucked right off the plants, ground tea leaves, girl. Give it to me. And then we move into South Node in Sagittarius. So it's like we're coming into this Temperance and Cancer energy, kind of sort of Hermit energy, where we're supposed to be doing something. And to be fair, Mercury does rule Virgo. So Gemini and Virgo are co-ruled by Mercury. But still, and if Gemini and Virgo are co-ruled by Mercury, that's us externalizing our peace. Like with that Hermit energy, like coming, and maybe it's just been my journey and how I approach dark nights of the soul and how I live my life personally and my spiritual journey. But it's like when I found myself grounded, it's like, okay, this is cool. How do I live this? And that was my lesson. So from January to May was me getting grounded within myself and tackling my shadow, doing all of that shadow work and stuff like that. From May on, it was about me interacting with the world, first through work and then through university, and keeping myself grounded. And it's like learning how to engage and interact with the world, but still stay grounded, still stay centered, still stay focused, but also interact with the world. So it's like, for me personally, I guess I've already been doing this. I thought everybody was doing it the way people talk about dark nights of the soul, but now I don't know if people just run away from them and claim victory. Oh, the Sun and Mercury are closing in on my Mars and Cancer, and I love y'all, but I get a little bit heated for the folks I love, and I got like Moon in Taurus, so hey, my Moon in Taurus is pretty far from my Mars and Cancer, so they don't necessarily sextile, but I got them energies there. Well, my rising would sextile my Mars, and my Sun would sextile my rising. Sun in Pisces, 10 degrees. Rising in Taurus, 8 to 9 degrees. Mars in Cancer, 9 degrees. So that 10, 8, 9 in Pisces, Taurus, Cancer, like I got them sextiles. And I got that trine. So when I get protective, I get a little heated. And I'm feeling a little bit protective over humanity. And this camera is so wonkily angled, but I'm not going to touch it. But yeah, it's like as y'all have been like getting grounded and getting centered and getting balanced, I guess if I think about it, a lot of people just shut out the world. And the time for shutting out the world is over. As someone who would claim to be an anchor of the light, or who would claim to be some kind of star seed, who would anchor in those codes from other systems that, aren't here on the earth where we're still doing each other dirty, where we were doing each other dirty, we're coming into our open heart and treating each other better. Um, but yeah, it's like with that lovers hermit crowning at this magician, I feel like it's about making decisions to create in our local environments energy that reflects the peace that we should have within. It's like first, you go through your dark nights to find it, to uncover it within yourself, and then you learn to engage in the world with the world where like that's how we transmute energies, essentially. I've been such a transmuter. I was transmuting energy before I even knew I was transmuting energy. Because I'm just the type of person that like if someone comes to me worked up, 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 125, I don't get worked up. And so I bring them to my calm. And that's how I transmute their anger, anxiety, worry, whatever, into peace, right? Because I can interact and engage with them and bring them to me instead of me falling to them. And that's what we should have been doing as lights in the collective. And I've said it before, but like if as the world goes dark, you go dark, then like this ain't Avatar the Last Airbender where we have a century to wait for you to come out of whatever stasis you didn't put yourself in because you couldn't face the world and you couldn't face your duties and responsibilities because you decided to run away from being the Avatar. But thank goodness we got more than one Avatar on this planet, because if we only had one Avatar, depending on on how some of these people been acting, we would have been screwed. But it ain't about that because we got people who was out there actually standing up. Anyway, getting into this moon, and it's all being revealed when the mists lift and you find, oh my gosh, maybe I wasn't supposed to run away into my own shell. It's like, yeah, girl, we're not in Cancer anymore. We're in Gemini now. Get out and do something. Anyway, that's when I started looking at it as the space that we just came out of and the space that we're going into. Now, Cancer was the cardinal. It all started really like this last greater, and I woke up in this wave personally when the North Node was in Cancer. That's when I was like, I need to get my whole life together. Actually, if you go by the dates, when the North Node was in Leo, at the end of the North Node being in Leo, it had to be like 0 degrees because it was right before it went into Cancer. That's when I was like, I need to get my whole life together. And my first deck actually arrived early November because it would have been right before I went to London. And I went to London, I flew out November 20th. So it would have been really, 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 really close to when the North Node slid into Cancer. I got my first 2 decks. I got the Wild Unknown Tarot and the Wild Unknown Animal Spirits by Kim Kranz. They were my first two. And then I got the Witch's Tarot off of Wish. At first, I didn't connect to the Witch's Tarot But I had my Witch's Tarot as like the deck that I would use like if I traveled or if I was using it on somebody else, I would use that one. So it was kind of sort of, I hate to say it, my throwaway deck a little bit. But then one day I just like connected to it. I was like, oh my gosh, I love these. Um, and I connected when I started like looking more into the imagery of the cards, because the Wild Unknown is kind of sort of, it's not the most elaborate of decks, right? So anyway, and so what am I doing? I'm talking about shifts. When it was in Cancer, that's when I woke up, got connected to Spirit. A lot of people did. It was about opening the hearts, connecting to Spirit on a grander level, so that when we shift into Gemini, we got enough people who will be on the front lines to actually fight and not run and tuck tail. But you know, lots of people who could have been on the front lines ran and tucked tail. Now, there are different ways to fight. Not everyone has to be on the front lines, seen and visible. How I'm interpreting front lines is looking at the state of the world, looking at everything coming up within communities, within nations, within yourself, and addressing what happens, addressing the things that arise instead of turning it off and running from it and trying to find peace and by ignoring all of it. Like if you ignored everything coming to the surface, you might do shadow work wrong. And I hate to like, I don't necessarily really take that stance, but my North Node is in Sagittarius. So I'm kind of sort of supposed to be direct and to the point. And I'm a Pisces, so I already got that Jupiter connection going. I need to be a little bit more fish, dreamy, and be a little bit more direct and blunt and Sagittarian. And this, it just is what it is. And my North Node is in the 8th house. So when it comes to the things that are hidden, when it comes to transformation, that's where my North Node is. So I'm on my path. I'm on my purpose. And it's funny that my North Node is, you know, where the South Node is. So I'm going to not be too Sagittarius to the extreme. I'm going to still rein it in. And like I said, I don't like dealing with absolutes. I don't want to say someone's doing something wrong, because there are many ways to do something. And there are many paths, and what we need to encounter on the path to get to where we need to be is different than what somebody else would need to encounter. And sometimes it is for us to sit out, sometimes it is for us to fall so we can learn to pick ourselves back up. But, you know, in my mind, it's just like, you know, because I'm so new to the journey myself. And so to hear or to see people who've been like, oh, you know, I've been up since 2011 and 2012 when the first wave went up, and then to hear them be like, you know, this is about us creating or finding whatever and ignoring everything happening in the world. Everything happening outside is an illusion, as like if Jupiter North Node, or as if Gemini is about illusion. Gemini energy might be crazy. And if you ain't mutable, if you ain't Gemini or Pisces, maybe Virgo, maybe Sagittarius, you may not get it. But as somebody with, you know, some Pisces in my chart, and with my South Node being in Gemini, sometimes you got to face the crazy. And sometimes the crazy reveals something, right? People ain't crazy just for the sake of being crazy. A lot of times there's a reason. And it's about looking at the reasons why, and not, you know, philosophizing about it, but actually getting down in there, having that conversation, right? I feel like Gemini energy, I feel like Geminis can kind of sort of steamroll a little bit, but not like a Sagittarius. Because I feel like a lot of times Sagittarius comes to a conversation, they already have a point and they're not going to budge. They're Sagittarius. It's an arrow. There's one point, one direction, and it flies. It does not veer. Once knocked and released, it's gone. Gemini with the twins is about having that back and forth. It's about seeing things from multiple perspectives, where Sagittarius can kind of sort of only see it from one. So again, and here I am ranting for who knows how long. How long I've been streaming now? 29 minutes. And I ain't even gotten into these yet, but it's all sort of related. Like now the full moon is going to be in Capricorn. So girl. And it's the 4th or the 5th. Let me see. Because if this is on the 4th in the U.S., it's probably on the 4th in the U.S. It might be. It would be so interesting if the full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn is the 4th of July. And we back on lockdown. It was like, we was free on Juneteenth. We was less restricted on Juneteenth, but by the time that it's like cases are spiking, blah 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 blah. It's like, girl, okay, well. And like I've said, America's Pluto is in Capricorn, so we're gonna be we're in the pre Pluto return phase. America's Pluto is like 27 degrees Capricorn. Pluto is basically 25 degrees Capricorn right now. It was so interesting. My mom doesn't necessarily too much completely subscribe to astrology, but I've kind of sort of, I use the term astrologer loosely as the person who knows the most about astrology, I will say. I've kind of sort of become the family astrologer. A few people. My mom, my auntie, one of my cousins, they wanted to see, they was like, where her crazy at? What's her moon? Ooh. But because her Mars is in Virgo. And I've never really felt Mars and Virgo energy before. Or I never too much dive into Mars. Not really. But with her, I felt Mars in a new way. I was like, Mars and Virgo. If Mars is the planet of it can be aggressive, but it's also about getting things done. It's about determination. Mars and Virgo is actually kind of sort of beautiful. Because I feel like Mars and Virgo would be really, really good at coming up with a detailed plan. Not necessarily like Capricorn. So it isn't anything that's necessarily super structured. But Mars and Virgo, I feel like Mars and Capricorn isn't that great. Isn't Mars and Fall in Capricorn? No. Mars doesn't like being in Cancer, so Mars actually might like being in Capricorn. Let me go back and see. Let me go back to January when it might have been there. In January, Mars was in Sagittarius and Gemini. Mars has come a long way. So yeah, Mars is exalted in Capricorn, which now it makes sense. At first I was like, why would Mars be exalted in Capricorn? But Mars in Earth energy, Mars in Capricorn or Virgo, gives it the ability to plan. And so it's not just going off the rails, doing whatever it feels like doing in the moment. Mars in Capricorn or Virgo is very strategic. So I was like, wow, so you're probably really good at setting goals and at looking at stuff and then accomplishing them. I don't have any Virgo in my chart, so I pray. And I try to hold myself accountable. My Mars is in Cancer. Mars is in Fall in Cancer. I got a lot of Pisces in my chart. Girl, I ain't got no Virgo. It's like when it comes to setting goals, I'm just like, wait, goals, what are those? Goals. Ooh, the moon is in Scorpio right now. What am I looking at? Why did I pull up the transits? Full moon in Capricorn, July 4th. That's what I was looking at. So I'm going to look at the 4th of July at 11:30 Eastern, because that is the earliest time zone we have here in the US. I'm going to go to the time. I'm going to put PM, 11:30 PM. So it'll be roughly right before that July 5th. And I'll see if we are in that full moon sort of area. The moon will be 12 degrees Capricorn, and the sun will be 13 degrees Cancer. So it's looking like it will be the 5th. But for some of the US, so let's say 11:30 Pacific would be 3:30, 2:30. Would be like 2:30 a.m. roughly. I'm just interested. I'm just curious. I want to know, Curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction brought it back, and they never talk about that part. It's always curiosity killed the cat, but what about the satisfaction that brought it back? Hello? Hold up. Oh, girl. So on the 4th of July, the moon is going to be like 0 degrees 58 minutes at 2:30 Eastern AM. So yeah, that's about right, because it takes what, like 2.5 days roughly? 2.8 days, I think, specifically, or closer to more specifically, for the moon to transit through a sign. So yeah, because at 2:30 a.m. on July 5th, the sun will still be 13 degrees 42 minutes Capricorn, or Scorpio, or Cancer, and the moon will be 14 degrees 37 minutes Capricorn. So between the 4th and the 5th here, especially in the US, because by this time it's already going to have happened. The full moon is already going to have happened by this time. So between the 4th and the 5th in the US is when we're going to be having this full moon Capricorn eclipse. Roughly, depending on where you are. Actually, if I go to the dashboard, it should tell me exactly when this is going to happen. Hopefully. Hopefully. So, let's see. Well, that's the equinox. Where's the eclipse? Where's the eclipse? I don't know, bro. It's in there somewhere. It's in there somewhere between the 4th and the 5th. It's just interesting. And I've been looking at eclipses different, because I'm like, well, if the whole thing about the moon is that it reflects sunlight, but in an eclipse, the Earth's shadow is there. So whatever the sunlight would have done, the Earth's shadow is there. So we got the shadow of the Earth, and right now we're seeing the shadow of the Earth as the surfacing of a lot of things all over the world, especially related to matters of the heart and how we treat people, you know. And then if anyone out actually cares, it's not like how we treat people is being brought to the surface. So law enforcement and their interaction with it, and government and the law and the system at large, right? Coming off of that Capricorn South Node. Now we're kind of sort of looking at the philosophies that run behind it with the Sagittarius South Node. And with the North Node moving from Cancer to Gemini, it's like, North Node and Cancer, do you care? North Node and Gemini, are you going to do anything about it? So, like, not only do you care, is your heart open enough for you to actually, like, you know, feel anything, any kind of empathy for somebody who ain't you, for people who claim to be empaths, but ain't got no kind of empathy for, you know, whatever. I'm not going to get full into it, because here I am getting heated again. It's fine. It kind of sort of happened at the end of the reading I'm going to be uploading for today. It's fine. It is what it is. Some things need to be, you know, aired, expressed. And I guess, you know, let me look and see where the sun and Mercury are now. Because I know they've been forming this, what is it, like a pincer attack or whatever they call it, on my little Mars and Cancer. And I was just talking about astrology, right? Like, we need to look at it differently. Oh, wow! Oh, wait. No, it was already 1 degree. So the sun is... Oh, my gosh! Girl, I'm triggered! I'm triggered! Look at this! Hold on, wait. Where is my phone? So y'all can see that. Can y'all see that? The sun and Mercury, both 9 degrees Cancer. The sun and Mercury are conjuncting at 9 degrees Cancer. My Mars is 9 degrees Cancer. I'm actually feeling fairly chill. Like, I know I may, and maybe it's because the sun is here now. Because when it was just Mars, and maybe it was because it was my first Mars hit, and it was maybe around the time of the lunar eclipse, or the solar, I don't remember when that first hit happened, but I was super heated when that happened. Now I'm like, I've alchemized it. enough to like when I need to be in this energy, I can be in this energy, and it doesn't like just take me under like it did the first time. But I'm really having a full Mars double conjunction. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Look at that. These are my transits. This is Time Nomad. You see that? The sun, 0.2 degrees, zero point 0.2 degrees between the sun and Mercury and my Mars. They're both 0.2 degrees. And they're both applying or approaching. They're closing in on my Mars. My poor little Mars in Cancer, y'all. My Mars in Cancer is tough though, especially when my emotions are involved. Then I'm unstoppable, girl. Don't get in my way. Because then the horns of the Taurus come full out too. So when when my emotions get involved, just get out of the way. You're not gonna win. You're just not. Sorry. Um, and the bull don't stop. So I can get real stubborn too. And my sun is 10 degrees Pisces. So it's getting that trine too. My Mars is getting squished between the sun and Mercury, and my sun is getting this real nice trine. That's just like, oh, you ready to pop off? You ready to blow up, girl? And Mars just went into Aries. Like, you really trying to pop off? And I'm like, no. See, it ain't even about all that. I'm just gonna say what I feel, and that's that, right? Now, I wonder if it may like, I don't know. I don't want to say I wonder if it'll trigger somebody else, but I mean, I'm fairly cool over here. Like my Mars is in Cancer, so it's a roller coaster, girl. It can be a roller coaster, but that's been my life's journey, learning how to handle my Mars. It kind of sort of just died for a while, but when I lost my Mars, I also lost my Venus, and I guess my Venus and Mars square, so there is an interaction there. My Venus is in Aries, my Mars is in Cancer. I have Uranus and Neptune in Capricorn, and then my Jupiter is in Libra. So I got cardinal placements all over, baby. This these Capricorn conjunctions are hitting me in several places. Um, Conjunctions with my Uranus and Neptune in Capricorn. Opposition to my Mars in Cancer. The opposition to my Mars in Cancer is extremely loose because this is like later Capricorn. My Mars is fairly early. Like that's third decan Capricorn. I got a first decan Mars. So it's a very, very, very loose opposition. But then the squares are tighter to my Venus and Aries and my Jupiter and Libra. So I've been feeling it. And then, I got Taurus placement, so I'm getting the trine there. I got Pisces and Scorpio placements, so I'm getting the sextile there. Excuse me. I ain't got nothing in Virgo to trine up. So, all this stuff, like, I'm feeling it. But I can feel it and not get swept up by it. And some people may say, oh, you's a little too heated. You's a little too passionate. You're obviously blah, 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 whatever. I'm like, I would ask you, like, so me not caring would be better? Okay, whatever. And it ain't about what other people think or say anyway. But yeah, North Node was just in Cancer. Do you care? North Node is in Gemini now. What are you going to do? And I say all this to say that's when I started looking at it as transits, as progressions, instead of just individual energies by itself. There's this individual energy, and then there's this individual energy. It's a flow, it's a movement. Energy is fluid. And so Mars was just in the third decan of Pisces. And the third decan of Pisces is the decan that Mars rules. Probably because of Scorpio. Mars is the traditional ruler of Scorpio. Third decan of Pisces is Scorpio energy. Makes sense. But it's that 10 of Cups when, like, related to the tarot. And so, like, whatever dream, whatever vision we gave Mars when it was in that last decan of Pisces specifically, but keep in mind, Mars was also there squaring everything when we had that what was it? The new moon, the full moon in Sagittarius lunar eclipse at like 15 degrees. Mars was right there in Pisces. North Node, South Node, Gemini and Sagittarius. Before, obviously, before his Mars crossed into Aries at that critical degree of Pisces at that 29th degree, it was squaring the nodes. So it goes from squaring the sun and the moon at that lunar eclipse to squaring the nodes in that third decan. What orders were you given Mars in your life? Because now that Mars is in Aries, whatever dream, whatever, because it's like Mars in Pisces, especially in that critical degree, I guess. Again, I'm not an actual astrologer. If you want actual astrology, go to somebody who studies the patterns. I'm not about patterns over here. I'm about breaking patterns. I got, like I said, like I'm a tower and a chariot. Those are my birth cards. I don't subscribe to seeing things the way that other people see them. I used to see them worse. Growing up, being a Pisces, I used that Neptunian energy against myself to keep myself in illusion, like a lot of Pisces do, actually. It's the shadow of Pisces energy. And then you see everything as worse than what it is. Now, shadow of Pisces can also be seeing everything better than as it is, especially when it keeps you to staying in something toxic. It's like, oh, it's not that bad. Oh, it's not that bad. Like, oh, you don't see the other sides. And anybody can do that in a toxic situation. Right? But now it's about holding a vision and doing something to make it a reality. Especially with North Node and Gemini, and we had Mars right there. It's about doing something to make it happen. It's about bringing it into this plane. With this moon energy, the moon is the gateway to the unseen realms. That's where the dreams lie. But now that, again, with this discerning one, with Mars and Aries, first decan right here, this is about going beyond the pillars. There's, oops, well, girl, what's that? Oh, the Four of Cups. There's that Cancer energy. Get out of here. We ain't just sitting and oming no more. I mean, sitting and oming is important, but acting is also important, right? We're not monks in monasteries. The monks in monasteries do their part. We do our part in our day-to-day lives, in our local communities, and that's Gemini. What are you doing in your local community to actually express that light? To show that you care now that the sun is in Cancer. North Node and Gemini. How are you showing that you care? Girl, anyway, I feel like I'm circling the drain with this a little bit, but then again, also, I kind of sort of don't. So yeah, whatever vision you gave Mars and Pisces, it's collective and it's individual. Collectively, we're going to be going to the right space. Because again, it's a good thing we ain't relying on some of y'all to be the only avatar in the world. Because if we did, there would be a century of darkness and a century of Fire Nation rule that now, like, we could have stopped it at the source. But now, I mean, multiple centuries now we're cleaning this up. Let's not push off several more centuries. Again, luckily we ain't relying on one person to do it for everybody. But anyway, getting back to this, now that Mars is in Aries, it's going to begin to move. And Mars is going to be in Aries for like the rest of the year. Let's actually, because I saw one thing that said like Mars is going to be in Aries until like January. But let's go to December. I love this app. This is Time Nomad. I love it so much. December 31, 2020. Oh, not looking at my conjunctions. Wow, I'm going to have a Mercury. Mercury is going to be conjuncting my my Uranus and Neptune. So Mercury is going to be in Capricorn. I mean, the sun will be in Capricorn. No, the sun will be in Aquarius at that point. So Mercury at most is one sign away from the sun. So it could be the sign behind that sign or the sign ahead. Let's go back to the chart details. Thank you. Yeah. December 31st, Mars is still going to be in Aries. Mars is going to be 27 degrees Aries, December 31st. Uranus is going to be 6 degrees retrograding in Taurus. So Uranus is just going to be lighting up my ascendant. It already got one direct conjunction. It's about to retrograde. I'll get another one. It's fine. The North Node will be 19 degrees Gemini. The Moon will be in Leo. Wow, the Moon will be in Leo for the New Year's. South Node will be in Sagittarius, 19 degrees, of course. Venus will be in Sagittarius, 20 degrees. The Sun will be... Oh, yeah. I don't know why I thought that was Aquarius. Aquarius is like December, or it's January to February. The Sun will be 10 degrees Capricorn. Mercury will be 17 degrees Capricorn. Pluto will be 24 degrees Capricorn, direct. Saturn will be back direct in Aquarius, 1 degree. Jupiter will be 2 degrees Aquarius. So sometime around the solar eclipse in December, I mean, it's like we have this Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, like, getting really, really close now in Capricorn, but then they're going to be conjuncting in Aquarius, looks like. So that's cool. It's like, we did all of that Capricorn conjuncting where it's all about, dismantling the establishments. Now we can conjunct in Aquarius where it's about moving forward. Excuse me. Ugh. And then Neptune will be 18 degrees Pisces, direct. So everything will be direct by the end of the year except Uranus. It's funny because Uranus, right now, Uranus and Mars are the only two planets that are direct, and everything else is retrograde. But by the end of the year, Uranus will be the only thing retrograde, and everything else will be direct. I don't know if that's funny or if that's concerning. Because I feel like Uranus being the only one retrograde, if we don't take care of this, because Uranus is that girl, if we don't take care of this, Uranus being the only one direct is like, oh, y'all thought y'all was going somewhere? Oh, y'all thought y'all was moving forward? Y'all thought this was over? Girl, let me remind you, you still didn't take care of this. So it's like, oof, girl, I don't like that. But it's like, if you having engine troubles and you take your car to get fixed and you take it to a mechanic that don't too much know what they doing, so all they do is like they fix the noise that was causing the issue, and so you drive that car off the lot and it ain't making no noise no more. Maybe because they put a lot of like insulation under the thing so you don't hear it making any noise anymore, but they didn't actually fix it, and then you drive the car off the lot and it blows up because the actual issue wasn't addressed. But it sounds like it was addressed. Oof. Maybe not. Maybe not. Hopefully not. I actually got to go to the restroom, so I'm going to mute this, and I'm going to be right back. I still haven't gotten into these cards, so I guess I will timestamp when I actually read these. All right, I was going for a second, for a minute. I'm gonna throw some cards. I'm just gonna randomly pull this one and this one. I'm not gonna keep them, but it's just so you know, if you're scrolling through, like, oh, he came back. Oh my gosh, the Page of Swords with the World card. We literally just talked about this Page of Swords, and the World was under the tower. So this is definitely about seeing things in a whole new way and moving accordingly, right? No one knows what's going to come, but that's not a good enough excuse to be like, oh, let's just keep doing what we were already doing. Like, girl, no. Sorry, bye. Sorry, not sorry, bye. And I'm going to put these under these to keep them kind of sort of at the top, but not to change. Um, I'm curious what's under the Six of Cups. Under the Six of Cups is the Knight of Cups. The Knight of Cups was under that six. Now it's under the World. And the Page of Wands is behind the Knight of Cups. So, interesting. But yeah. So, you know, I look at it as cycles now. Especially for planets that aren't like super, super slow. But I guess closer to when they are like when they're approaching a cusp or when they've just crossed one. That's when we can look at the cycles a little bit more. So again, you know, Mars in Pisces, third decan, is the Ten of Cups. Mars in Aries, first decan, is the Two of Wands. Now, the Two of Wands can be a moment of like crossroads, but the Two of Wands is also the first step on the journey. So it's like in with Mars and Pisces, we were selling Mars a dream, right? It's kind of sort of a somebody said propaganda too, didn't they? It's kind of sort of like a propaganda energy that riles people to action, that stirs people to action. But it's like, you know, so what dream, what vision are we giving Mars? Because Mars is a planet of action, and Mars in Aries is going to act. Now, if you didn't give Mars any direction while it was in Pisces because you were too busy focusing on putting veils of illusion, like putting yourself under illusion so that you didn't have to see what was actually going on in the world, then your Mars isn't going to have any direction while it's in Aries for the rest of the year into next year. And so you have a soldier with no orders. Maybe it's a good one, or maybe it's a bad one that's just going to be out wreaking havoc, or maybe it's just not going to do anything. It could be the one that's like, I'm off duty. It's like, oh my gosh, Mars, like the world is literally falling apart. We need you to get up and do something. Mars is like, I'm off duty. I'm not getting paid for it. Not my problem. It's like, oh my gosh, Mars, we are literally going down. And Mars is like, well, you compensate me for this or not? Like, depending on the dream you gave your Mars, is going to be what it acts in. Mars in Aries, almost, it doesn't necessarily have to be, but it almost feels like you can't talk to it. Like it's already gone. Like you try to catch up to Mars and you're talking and Mars is already off to the next thing. That's why Mars in that third decan of Pisces is so important before it enters Aries. In Pisces, Mars gets its orders. That's why it's slowed down. Right? When Mars is slow is the only time you can get Mars's ear long enough to listen. Now, if Mars is in like Virgo or Capricorn, then like you give it a plan and it'll execute it, right? But like Mars in Aries, Mars in Leo, Mars even in Sagittarius, ain't got time to listen to nobody. It's in its home element. It's going ham. It's racking up points or doing whatever Mars does to feel good. I don't know. Trying to do it better than everybody else. So, you know. Anyway, let me grab a water because I'm getting a little parched. I'm defrosting my refrigerator today, and I've honestly needed to defrost it for months. But today it finally got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm going to defrost this thing. So. All the cuties were bad. It was tragic. Girl, all the cuties. All the cuties. I'm low key a little. I know it's such a trivial thing to be like traumatized by, but I'm low key a little traumatized by cuties right now because I went to the store. First, I wanted some halos, but I got some cuties. They may be the same, they may be different. I don't know. And I just grabbed a bag and I brought it home. And I had some tangerines that I didn't really like, or some mandarin oranges that I didn't really like because they weren't really sweet enough. So I squeezed them to see if they were still firm, and then I put them out. And so then, for whatever reason, I was squeezing these cuties, and I wasn't looking, and one of them like literally melted in my hand. It was that rotten, and it made me feel some type of way, and I was scared. I was scared. So I took that bag of cuties back to the store and I exchanged it, and I took my brother with me because my eyes are, my eyes, and I don't always pay attention to things. More importantly, and so he was looking with me, and he got a bag. There were so many that were like rotten or just like really soft. And so as I took everything out my little fridge back here, my mom was like, "Yeah, I threw them cuties away because there was one of them in there that was as rotten as the one that you had last time." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, if I had squeezed that one, I would have been over cuties and oranges for the rest of my life. For the rest of my life." But I know I got to be brave. So it's just the orange, Patrick. It can't hurt you. But anyway, so let me see what time it is. I'm at 1 hour. I'm gonna say about 1 hour and 7 minutes. I'm gonna just go ahead and put it in the description right now. I'm gonna get in here. Excuse me, because when I get in here on my phone, I don't have to wait until it's done processing to comment, which is lovely. It's so lovely. Oh, it's lovely. Oh my gosh, she's gorgeous. Yes, Henny. It is so interesting looking at pictures from like so folks that we know when they're older, or folks that we meet when they're older. It's like it's so interesting looking at pictures of them when they're younger. Like my grandmother hasn't had teeth my whole life. And so to see pictures of her from when she had teeth, I'm just like, oh my gosh. And her hair was like not like salt and pepper or white. I'm just like, what? Like you were young at one point? And in my mind, it's like there are certain things that I know just like make sense. But in my mind, it just like it never registers. Like the fact that, people were younger than like the first time I see a picture of them when they're younger, I'm like, oh my gosh, like they weren't always old. Like I know that most people aren't only children, but for some reason, I just assume everyone is an only child. So the first time they talk about a sibling, I'm like, oh my gosh, you have siblings? That's just me sometimes, y'all. Like, for as bright as I can be, I can also be a little slow or a lot of slow. It's a spectrum. Um, but yeah, I got in here, so I'm gonna leave the note on my phone, and then because it's in my history now, so then I can just come in and comment it later. But yeah, and I think that's it's kind of sort of like I know it may have seemed a little tangential or whatever, but it is kind of sort of related, especially as we come into this other eclipse, because it's like we have all of this energy at our disposal, all of this energy blessing us, but what are we actually doing with it? And I think that's kind of sort of the question of North Node and Gemini. It's like, what are you doing with it within your own power, within your own community? What are you doing? Where is your voice? And like we go from cardinal to mutable to fixed. So if we do this right, we have 18 months to flourish in Taurus when the North Node is in Taurus. And not to say that it ain't gonna be stuff that we can do, because again, I'm not an astrologer. I don't know. But like 18 months of North Node in Taurus, especially if we work hard now, girl, that's like beautiful. Now it could also be like really laying down the foundations or really sitting down to really think about it. In this time now where we're sort of at the in between, Taurus could be like working out, like fleshing it out a little bit more, and then like when the North Node goes into Aries, that would be like actually rolling it out potentially, right? But regardless, like North Node in Taurus feels like it will be amazing, especially if we do this right. Like again, not to say that like there's a lot of stuff coming up, right? Actually, I'm not gonna say that because the whole world could literally change in a day. The entire world could literally change in a day, and that change could be, I don't want to say like full disclosure, but that change could be full disclosure. That change could be rolling out like actual healthcare, like actual medicine, and not, drugs that you take that give you, symptoms that are treated by other drugs, or side effects that are treated by other drugs, and now you're taking like 15 pills to cure one thing because of all the side effects and the blah blah blah, right? Like actual medicine or actual like healing techniques like really coming to the forefront, you know what I mean, like on a grander so let's say like instead of a day, let's say a week, right? So I'm not gonna say that, North Node and Taurus is gonna be hard work. I'm not gonna say that because 18 months isn't a lot of time, and we've already been in it for what, like 2 months ish now. But I think it's still like, we'll just say 18 months because it's not 18 exactly. um yeah, I'm not gonna sell us short. When we actually come together, if we actually come together as a collective, we could accomplish amazing things when we're not competing with each other, but actually cooperating. Girl, like we could do a lot, but we have to choose it. And I thought I was already kind of crazy, but I might just go full crazy and be like, by the time the North Node rolls into Taurus, like I want enough people to have decided to act while the North Node is in Gemini, with everything exposed, like with everything going on now, for the collective to really truly come together so we can just like solve this. Or at least, make more significant headway than like snail's pace that we typically do. Right? So yeah. 333! Oh, hold on, wait. I got a name on there. Yeah. Oh, I did it again. Oh, now it's 334. Oh well, I saw it. One of my friends' names was on there, so I couldn't just like, put her out there like that. So anyway, I'm glad I didn't comment that already, because it's already been like 6 minutes. So I'll say 1 hour and 14 minutes. So let's get into these cards, shall we? So this is gonna be around. Now I gotta wait 5 more seconds. Whatever. So basically what I did was I wanted to come live and I didn't know what to do. So I shuffled up the Pride Tarot. There we go. The Pride Tarot. This is a collaborative deck because it's the last month of June, and June is Pride Month. And the SKT, and my girl Benabel didn't even put her name on the box. But, I mean, I think this is out of print. Excuse me, this is the this is the top of the box. For the Vitruvian edition. Because she made an original run, and I found her right after it sold out. And she said she wouldn't, like, reprint it unless she felt called to. So then she had some revisions and came out with a Vitruvian edition, and she said the same thing. She's not going to revise it unless she feels called to. So it's like limited stock. So as I signed up, for that newsletter, and as soon as she said pre-orders are available, girl, even though the deck ain't come out until like June, I had my pre-order by mid-February. It was already purchased. Premium edition, and I'm so glad I got the premium edition because that book of maps is like 740 some pages, girl, and it is packed with information. Like, not only do you get all the meanings, you get your I Ching, you get some gematria correspondence, you get like astrological timing, you get like, so girl, like that thing is so dense. I ain't even looked at all of it. And like, girl, I didn't work. So this came out. I read the entry. I'm gonna be reading all of them from the Pride Tarot because I like to. When it comes to the SKT, probably not. But if I feel led to, I will. Why not? Reading is what? If you don't know, you don't know. So then, like, these cards came out. So I got all these cards. I got these 5, and I was talking about whatever I was talking about. And some of them are face down, like these. Nope, like this one. And these. Nope, those are face up. That was the only one that came out face down. And then I was shuffling the SKT to lay them on top. Because, so with this, I got like a full moon Capricorn lunar eclipse thing. So I was like, oh, sure, we'll pull some stuff around the full moon Capricorn lunar eclipse. If it resonates, it resonates. If it doesn't, it doesn't, you know. I don't know. We'll see. And I was shuffling up the SKT. If you just came in, welcome. Hi, this is the Higher Fish. My name is Patrick. And the moon came out, and the moon came out here. So I was like, oh, snap. And the moon came out with like 3 cards. At first, I was like, that's too much. But the moon was on the top, so I was like, I got to take them. So that's why these are sitting up here. And then the rest are clarifying needs. So now that you are more or less caught up, fair warning, I don't know if y'all know anything about astrology if you're watching me, but the sun and Mercury are doing this pincer attack thing on my Mars in Cancer right now. They are both 0.2 degrees away from my little Mars in Cancer. And they're all conjuncting. They're all 9 degrees Cancer right now. The sun, Mercury, and my Mars. So we're going to have fun. We're going to have a good time. Just a little bit of forewarning, because, you know. I knew Mercury was going to come back and conjunct me because it retrograded. I knew the sun was going to conjunct me because, you know, the sun conjuncts everybody at one point or another if you live long enough. I did not know that they would be conjuncting literally right on top of my Mars, though. Didn't know that. So I found that out today when I was like, oh, I'm getting a little heated-ish. Let me look and see what's happening in Cancer. And then the sun and Mercury were both 9 degrees, and I was like, oh, okay, cute, work. And they're trining my sun at 10 degrees Pisces, so, you know, it's really cute over here. Ooh, the Ten of Swords. We starting with the Ten of Swords, y'all. I kind of want to start uploading that video. But I'll wait. I'll wait. I recorded a little video before I did this, and it was the like what to keep in mind, what to leave behind, and where to grow for today. Kind of sort of interesting, kind of sort of popping. It's like 40 minutes though, girl. It's fine. If you watch it, you watch it. If you don't, you don't. It's honestly that simple. And again, it's like while I'm engaging in this collective space, I get the ear of the collective. So some people, never mind, it's fine. So, Ten of Swords, this is about endings, beyond endings. If you ain't in something already, Kali is coming out like, girl. Like, we already did this full moon lunar eclipse one time. Twice, actually. Because I think it happened in January. It was in... Or was that a new moon? No. It was early January, like around between the 11th and the 13th. I think it was around that time Saturn conjuncted Pluto for the first time in Capricorn. And we also had a lunar eclipse. And then May 22nd was that full moon Sagittarius lunar eclipse. No. May 22nd was that new moon in Gemini. early June was the full moon Sagittarius lunar eclipse. And then on the solstice, we had the solar eclipse. Now we're coming up on this full moon Capricorn lunar eclipse. And then there's going to be another lunar eclipse and a total solar eclipse in December. I think the total solar eclipse is like early December. I don't know when the lunar eclipse is. If you ain't know within the space of like recently what you need to cut out, it's like, girl, it's like I, I'm almost feeling this energy. And again, I'm having lots of Mars conjunctions today, and Mars is like fresh in Aries, so everybody probably feeling a little Martian now that Mars is out of Pisces. It's like, you know, Mars can breathe now. It's out of the water. But it's almost like, girl, if you didn't take care of this by now, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna take care of it, and you're not gonna like the way I handle it. Is this Mars in Gemini? No, this is the Sun in Gemini. Okay, this is the third decan of Gemini. Why is it the Sun in Gemini? What's that, Aquarius? Well, that would have been what, Saturn? Nah. So the Ten of Swords is all about endings. This is also, excuse me, about, I see it as feminine energy and masculine energy because at the bottom of the card, that dude is holding up the little papal hand sign right there. You can see it, that we see in the Holy See. And Kali is a feminine energy. And so this is about feminine energy coming into a position where it's no longer sort of under and subservient to misaligned masculine energy. So maybe, oh, well, I guess, yeah, with Cancer and Capricorn, even though it's kind of sort of Cancer Leo. Well, Cancer Leo would be a higher vibrational masculine feminine aspect. Cancer and Capricorn is like it's a different version of it, right? Because Cancer is like prime divine feminine with the moon, and Leo is like prime divine masculine with the sun, but we also get that fatherly, like Saturnian Capricorn that can be masculine, especially as it opposes Cancer. But it may be time like this, we may be really moving away from that. And what would that mean? I just feel like it's like wherever there would have been a Three of Swords moment, it's like, I hope you have enough room in your heart for 7 more swords. If you ain't been doing whatever you're supposed to have been doing, I hope you have enough room in your heart for 7 more swords where there were 3 before. Because if you haven't taken care of it by this point, there's like this Uranian energy. I guess it could be that Jupiter-Pluto thing happening right now. Because Jupiter and Pluto are conjuncting in Capricorn again right now. So Pluto was like, oh, they really ain't learned. They really ain't learned. They really think I'm playing games. And it's like the full moon is going to be up there in Capricorn in that lunar eclipse. So like, you really done got into the wrong neighborhood. And then Pallas made its way back. Pallas really like burned rubber to get to this meetup point. Because at first she was all the way in Aquarius. I'm just like, oh, Pallas is retrograding. So she's going to be, in there for the party this time. When it happens, when that Jupiter Pluto conjunction happens in Capricorn, she hauled booty, Wait. Oh, I turned her off. Oh, wow. So it's officially happened. I don't know if y'all can see. Jupiter and Pluto. Right there, I believe. Y'all can see it. So now Jupiter is like 2 minutes in the 24th degree of Capricorn, and Pluto is 24 degrees 5 minutes. So Jupiter is officially behind Capricorn. Officially. That direct conjunction, exact conjunction has happened. When Jupiter goes direct, it's going to be moving back forward and it's going to hit Pluto again. Let's do it right the first time so there's less to clean up later. But I do want to turn my little minor bodies back on so I can see where my girl Pallas is. Oh, yeah. She hauled booty. Look, you see Palace 24 degrees. Where's she at? 24 degrees in 29 minutes. So she's like, roughly 25 ish. 20, like less than 30 minutes away. That's less than half of a degree away. She was in Aquarius. She's the strategist. She's 1 second. And I'm back with you. There's one thing I learned from my dog that's really interesting. This is a little random interjection. Sorry. So sometimes he barks, sometimes he like woofs, and then sometimes he like woofs. You know what I mean? But there are sometimes when he barks that like you can tell he's really like projecting because you can feel his breath from like a foot away. That's how much he's like putting into it. And so there's like sometimes I guess, and it's all projection, but like there are some times where you can like really put the air into your words. It doesn't make any sense maybe to a lot of people, but it was just interesting. So I tried to start doing it because I'm a weirdo like that, and it's interesting. So yes. Anyway, Pallas Athena, Minerva, she's the strategist. She's the goddess of like good war or strategic war, whereas Mars is the god of like just straight up war. Also wisdom. She's the owl. Also handicraft. You know, we found that out with Arachne or Ariadne. Arachne. We found that out with Arachne. Um, she's the goddess of handicraft. Who knew? I didn't know it. But yeah, so she's coming in with an element of strategy, and I don't know. I don't know how because it's all Pluto, right? It's like without her there, it was just kind of sort of random. Pluto is ruled by Mars, right? Traditionally, so you got Mars and you got Jupiter. You got Aries and you got Zeus, and neither one of them is necessarily strategic. But now you got Minerva coming in with the strategy. She's like, okay, they didn't get it. She puts on her glasses. She's giving them the full breakdown of your weak points. So, any loose ends you got, I would just say it'd be really cute if you tie them up before this full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know the energies around it. Talk to an astrologer, you know. But girl, oof. All I gotta say is like, oof, that this Ten of Swords is literally the first energy out, and this one was the only one face down. What if it's another Ten of Swords? Oh, it's the Two of Pentacles. Okay. Work. Interesting. I'm actually gonna read this. So I feel like the Two of Pentacles makes it a little less dramatic. However, I feel like with the Ten of Swords and the Two of Pentacles, either you're going to get really, really, really clear on a decision that you need to make, or by the time this full moon Capricorn eclipse rolls around, if there's a decision that are these upside down? No, they're not. If there's a decision that, yes, they are. Yeah, oh my gosh. I hardly use OBS. One moment. No? Okay. I got some communication in the mail, y'all. We'll see. That's all I got to say is we'll see. I feel like this could be a miss in the boat energy. You juggled for too long, you missed the boat, it's gone. Like, Opportunity is not a lengthy visitor. Everything you've needed to know in this situation, you've known for how long? We can't keep things in stasis forever. Everything must move. Everything must grow. Sometimes it happens on our time, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes we have everything we need to pursue it, but we just never take the chance. Um, and like, this is the whole gosh darn Kali. So like I said, if you did, like, I hope you have enough room for 7 more swords. This it says it feels like a level of regret that I don't want anyone to experience. Because with this Two of Pentacles in particular, it's almost like, you think you have more time. You're still playing around. You're not taking this decision as seriously as maybe you should. And you just kind of miss out. And the pain of missing out on whatever this is that you've literally been preparing yourself for, that the universe is literally giving you, if you don't take it before it moves on to something else, you're really going to feel it. But also, on the other hand, like, if you've been entertaining non-options, or if you have entertained a non-option, with this Ten of Swords, you're going to be feeling something. I don't know. But it's also a finality. So if you do it right, it's gonna feel really, really good. Because I feel like if you do this right, this could be the energy of like the biggest sigh of relief in your life. You're like, oh my gosh, okay, like, it got a little intense there. I thought one of these pennies was gonna drop and only got 2. Like, we ain't even juggling 3 pennies. I only got 2. This is like juggling 101. I guess juggling 001 would be like one thing. But this is like juggling 101. You only got 2. But it's like a huge sigh of relief if you do it right. And it's an end to this cycle of self-sabotage. It's either an end to a cycle of self-sabotage, or this is self-sabotage to the extreme that you lose something that was so hardcore meant for you. But again, like, you have free will. Nothing can be stolen, but it can be forfeit. You can not claim it. You have the right to let it sit, and you have the right to sit and watch it go. I just hope you wouldn't do that. So, oof. So now, let's go to this 2 of Pennies, because I just want to read, and I want to honor all of the collaborators in this deck. So that's what we're doing today. The 2 of Pentacles by Martinique Fisher. This 2 of Pentacles card represents balance, being flexible, fun, and being in high spirits. You see a man at a pride march who is in his element. He manages to be graceful and effective at the same time, easily juggling the worldly concerns. Easily. He doesn't get overwhelmed or stressed out about the world around him. He is able to go with the flow. He handles challenges and juggles them with ease. He has come to terms with the fact that life is push and pull, yin and yang, and he is happy to be keeping the 2 in balance. He is not affected by the negative, but doesn't let the positive blind him either. He is adaptable to the changing views about his lifestyle. Not at all bothered by opinions. Not at all. He remains adaptable to changing situations, knowing that he will come out on top. He is just as happy and confident as ever. And I actually kind of sort of really... Okay, so this is bringing a third element to the scene. Now, if you've been on it, girl, going back to everything I was talking about how the nodes have been like sort of shifting and transitioning. It's like when the North Node was in Cancer, it's not anymore, but it was when, close enough. Anyway, when the North Node in Cancer, the question was like, do you care? Now that the North Node is in Gemini, it's like, what are you going to do about it with what you have at your disposal? Do you care, and what are you going to do? South Node was in Capricorn, and it moved into Sagittarius, right? So that kind of sort of went from the physical structure and the system more to the invisible things behind it that keep it running, right? But anyway, I was saying, like, I will say here, check out the video I uploaded today, or it's not uploaded yet. Check out the video I'll be uploading later, because it's this. It's this. It came out. It was the Hermit, the Ace of Swords, and the Fool. First it was the Fool, the Hermit, and the Ace of Swords, but it got jumbled up and it got rearranged, and it's this. It's this. So check it out if you want or not, because I can wrap this up a little bit quicker. I can say the air I've already expended. So next we're coming into Work, Judgment, Apocalypse. It's Apocalypse in this deck. So we move from the Destroyer, Ten of Swords, the Destroyer, to Apocalypse. I don't know where this is. There it is. We move from the Destroyer to Apocalypse. And behind Apocalypse is this Eight of Cups. This is giving me Sodom and Gomorrah energy. For those of y'all who don't biblically know, Sodom and Gomorrah was, a lot of people say that, like, there were gays in Sodom and Gomorrah, and that's the reason why it went down. I think Sodom and Gomorrah actually went down because they didn't have any heart. There was a lot of debauchery just in general, but also they didn't have any heart. I think there were, like, lots of angels who would try to go in and would never get helped or whatever. And Lot and Sarah were in Sodom and Gomorrah. And Lot said, or a guy or an angel came to Lot and said, take your wife, your kids, your family, your possessions, anything you have that ain't going to slow you down, girl, because you need to run. Take them and leave. And don't look back. Do not look back. And Lot and Sarah was leaving Sodom and Gomorrah, not looking back. And stuff started to pop off, rumbling, thunder cracking, fire and brimstone. That's where fire and brimstone came from, Sodom and Gomorrah. But they was already told not to look back. And so they running. And then Sarah looked back and she got turned into a pillar of salt because she looked back. And Lot had to just keep moving forward, probably with tears in his eyes, because his wife isn't with him anymore. And he can't even look back to see what happened to her. I don't know how that story ended. I don't know if Lot remarried. I don't know. But Sodom and Gomorrah went down, and they had plenty of warning. Before it went down. Oof. I actually want to look it up. I want to look it up and see. Let's see if Siri has anything to contribute to the conversation. Hey Siri, what happened in Sodom and Gomorrah?
Okay, I found this on the web for what happened in Sodom and Gomorrah. Check it out.
Okay, let's go to Wikipedia. Siri ain't reading today. It's fine. She Googled. That's enough. I use the male voice on my Siri, so that's why my Siri is not the stereotypical female voice. I just like it. Sodom and Gomorrah were two cities mentioned in the book of Genesis and throughout the Hebrew Bible, New Testament, and the Deuterocanonical books, as well as the Quran and the Hadith. I don't know what that is. According to the Torah, the kingdoms of Sodom and Gomorrah were allied with the cities of Admah, Zeboim, and Bela. I don't know. The cities of the plain were situated on the Jordan River. Wow, on the Jordan River? That's interesting, because Jesus got baptized in the Jordan. Huh. Interesting. Divine judgment was passed upon them, and 4 of them were consumed by fire and brimstone. Neighboring Zoar was the only city to be spared. In Abrahamic religion, Sodom and Gomorrah have become synonymous with impenitent sin. Girl, I don't know what that word means. That's new for me. Impenitent sin, and their fall with a proverbial manifestation of divine retribution. Jude 1:7. The Bible mentions that the cities were destroyed for their sins, an attempt at taking the body of another, haughtiness, and egoism, so pride. Sodom and Gomorrah have been used historically and in modern discussion as metaphors for homosexuality. Origin of the word sodomite. pejorative term. Okay, so that probably wasn't great to say. I'm sorry. Um, but yeah, like that's more modern. And like I'm not gonna say that that stuff wasn't happening, but that's not what it was about. It was more about taking the body of another without the permission, the haughtiness, and the ego. That's why it fell. Oh my gosh, America. 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 Wow. Now, I ain't telling nobody to leave, like, flee America, because it's about to go down. Because honestly, the whole world at this point is subject to divine judgment. Um, anyway, that's where I'm going to end this. I'm not going to get too far into it. It answered my question. It was the haughtiness, the ego, and the taking of one without their permission. Um, that's the reason why the city fell down. Now, judgment a lot of times is actually depicted as the resurrection, which is interesting. But with this Eight of Cups, I'm not necessarily like it carries a sort of Sodom and Gomorrah vibe, but I'm kind of sort of still feeling that original like it's time for us to go after what we want. It's time to leave and to not look back, right? That in between time, like if you look back, you've wasted too much time. You get caught up in it, you're lost. Um, the Eight of Cups is something that's been happening for a while. The Eight of Cups, at least at the very least, since March, when all the lockdowns and the isolation and the quarantine started popping off, when you started to get them realizations and you knew because you had to live with it, when it became painfully aware, when you became painfully aware, when it became like really obvious what you needed to walk away from is the moment that you should have began walking. So now as we approach this, if you wasn't walking, girl, it's time to run because you don't want to get caught up in whatever this apocalypse is. Whatever this judgment is, you don't want to get caught up in it. Especially coming right after this Ten of Swords. I don't necessarily like to be doom and gloom, girl, but it's looking kind of bleak. It's looking kind of bleak, and we're gonna read this Eight of Cups, and again, it gives me MC Escher vibes. It's not relativity. Is it relativity? It may actually be relativity. I always think I don't know what it's called, but then the name just comes to me. It gives me relativity vibes from MC Escher with those stairs. And I'll pull it up again. Hey Siri, what is Relativity by MC Escher?
Okay, I found this on the web for what does
Yeah.
relativity.
It is relativity. Girl, I'm always like, I don't know what it is, but I know. And that's divine, like, no, don't act like you don't know, because you actually do. You do, you know. Relativity is this painting. It's this one by MC Escher with the stairs. Y'all see that? The stairs that go all kind of crazy ways. That's you. That was the energy that we were sort of caught in before all of these eclipses started happening, right? But the pattern, when you got the knowing, when you got the understanding, just regardless of if you decided to act on it or not, you're responsible. Once you know, you're responsible. You can't claim a fool once you know, because the divine knows that you know, and this is divine judgment. So try to play the fool if you want to. It's not going to hold up in the court of law. You're just going to be looking real boo-boo in front of the judge and the jury. Boo-boo the fool, for those of y'all who don't know. You're going to be looking like a fool, honey. Girl, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Clean it up. I'm sorry. I'm having a little bit of fun, maybe at somebody's expense. Girl, but you know, if you want to play the clown, if you're wearing the wig and the face and the nose and the shoes and the attire and you're standing in the middle of the ring and you're doing the dance, you're doing the performance, then girl, don't get mad at me for calling you out for being a clown. Right? Like, take the wig off. Wash your face. Take off the nose and the shoes. Be who you are underneath. That's what all of this has been about. Getting you to come into that place of power. Oh, it's not the strength card. From the top, it almost gave me strength vibes, but it's not. I was like, I know I didn't get the strength card. Because if you continue to, like, the circus is going down, the show is over. Now, there will be a lot of energies that will try to convince you that, oh, no, the show's not over, girl. Like, no. Like, no one told you to stop. It's honestly, so, like, Juneteenth, I just recently found out that it was, like, an actual thing that people celebrate. But I learned about it when I took U.S. history or government back in high school. And I didn't, like, learn about it. What I learned was that the Emancipation proclamation was issued, and then sometime later, the last of the slaves were actually free, right? So there were like 2 years and some change that there were slaves who were technically freed by law, but they didn't know that they were free. And so they continued to do whatever. And Juneteenth is when the last of the slaves were in the know. Now they came into, other sort of challenges. It's not like, oh, you're free and like now you're equal and we're all, sunshine and rainbows. Like, no, because if that were the story, we wouldn't be where we are now. But anyway, it's about moving forward, keeping the past in mind. And I've been thinking about time lately and thinking about reasons why it would be important for us to remember where we came from. Reasons why it would be important for us to remember our history and not to just act like it never happened. Honestly, reasons why instant resolution doesn't really solve any problems. I'm a weirdo, so I've been in this space of like, I'm manifesting a lot of things for the collective, I'll just say. And every time it comes to manifesting anything like too drastic, it's like it runs the risk of the lesson being forgotten, and it runs the risk of a repeat happening in the future. It must be remembered. This isn't something that can just be, cleared up like a blemish. This is something that may leave a scar, and the scar will heal, but it's important that we remember the story so that we never repeat it, right? And it's like, oh, well, it was this one class of people before, and now it's a different class of people, so it's different. It's like, no, girl, like, let's leave that in the past, right? Apples, oranges, bananas, kiwis, they're all fruits, right? We don't have to go through each, food item, fruit by fruit by fruit by fruit by fruit, right? We can just say all fruits, regardless if it's an apple or an orange. Some people say you can't compare apples and oranges, or apples and bananas. And while that is true, they're all fruits. So let's just pass fruit legislation. Let's adopt a fruit mentality so we don't got to go from apples to oranges to bananas to grapes. So we don't go from oranges to halos to cuties to nectarines to tangerines to like the mandarin oranges. So we don't go from like Granny Smith apples to is it golden delicious or like red delicious or pink lady apples or like these apples. Like, girl, like, let's just all at once. All people are people are people are people are people, and they all deserve these rights, girl. Because we're all people. Don't matter what shade, don't matter what size, don't matter the people that we choose to interact with who are of legal and consenting age. We're all people. So let's expedite this a little bit, and because, girl, people, right? Am I right? Things are so slow. So slow. But it's important that we remember so that we don't repeat it. So it's like, okay, so yeah, we got to take the long route. We got to do this. Like, this isn't an instant fix because, again, it's so important that we remember. And in our remembrance, it also gives us, after we reach that point, it'll give us a sense of pride as a collective that we were able to finally come through that. And it makes us stronger after we come through it. Right? Just like everything that you've gone through in your personal life, it's to make you stronger to the point where you don't keep repeating these cycles. And this is a ride that, just like, what was I talking about? It was there and I lost it. Oh, this is a little far down. Let me see if I push this up a little bit. I don't know. Well, yeah, let's just move this up a little bit. There you go. I wanted it to have this little wavy effect. So there you go. It's all in the picture. It's like a lot of the ties have already been cut, and you're already free. You just need to leave. You see yourself as trapped when you're not trapped. And then this is an 8. Oh my gosh, it's an 8. Here's the 8. 8s are traps. Relativity, girl. I told y'all I don't like eights. But I know that eights are like, it's important. I've been thinking about it, and honestly, every number from 3 specifically, more or less, can fit in an 8. Every number. It's like 1 and 2 are the only numbers that break the mold. And like if you do a 2 like kind of funky, then you can still get that in the 8. Right? Kind of. I don't know what I was just doing. I could pull out my tablet, but I'm not going that far. Because it's like with the 3, like that's basically the 8 without that little whatever right there. With the 4, if you do a digital 8, like a boxy 8, boom, that's the 4. With the 5, it gets a little bit more boxy up here, but then you round it out down here. With the 6, it's like from the 6 into the 7. And I should. It's. Ooh, I got my phone right here. Let's make a note. Work. I'm here to work. I am a professional. Because I've been on the number 8, y'all. I don't like it. But anyway, I'm going to try to get into this and see if it will let me do what I want to do. Perfect. Work. Okay. So, here's my phone. Going from the 6 into the 7, it's like, here's the 6, right? But then there's the 7. And the 8. So, well, here's the 3. And then you're just missing that for the 8. Here's the 4. And then there's the 8. It's the boxy 8. Here's the 5, which is a combination. So like this will be the circle 8 on the top, on the bottom, but the square 8 up top. And then again, I already showed the 6 into the 7, which then becomes the 8 when you come back down and you can round it out, right? And then that 9 is just like, so the 6 into the 7, into the 8, rounded out, into the 9. Well, with the 9, you would change direction and you would go back down instead, right? And then with the 2, it's like, I guess if you do it like this way, that's like a really weird 2, but then you kind of sort of get the 8 in there, right? If you start up here, oh, I guess there, yeah. Oh my gosh, that's it. Using the 8 as the framework. Here's the 2. Boom, boom, right there. It's a little sloppy. It's a little extra sloppy, but it's in there. The 1 is the only thing that doesn't really exist in the 8. So I was thinking about it. For whatever reason. I've been thinking about a lot of stuff. Not all of it necessarily. Whatever. I'm just thinking, right? I'm just thinking. Everything fits in the 8. That's why I don't like the number 8. Except the 1. The 1 is a little whatever, but like you can do a little 1 there. Or you can do like a 1 on the side up there. Yeah, I'm not going to try to force the 1. But the 0 is just the 8 wearing a, what you call it? A corset. With a cinched waist. An 8 is a 0 with a cinched waist. And the 0 is empty. It's all empty. It doesn't mean anything. Let me stop. So then I was like, well, what if you move the 8 to the space of the 0? Because then it'd be like, but then the actual 8 is the 0. It's like, here's 8 and here's 0. And they say 8 is a number of abundance, but you can see that it's pinched off right here. It's like the true abundance would be when it's like open to flow, right? And again, I know it's kind of out there or wild or whatever. I was just thinking, I don't smoke weed. I drink alcohol on occasion. I wasn't high. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't under the influence of anything. I just got a mind that likes to wander, okay? But it's like, so if it's like 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 0, 9. Because 0, again, without that belt, it's free to flow. 0 is the womb. That's kind of sort of the true abundance. That's the space that it all comes out of. And then you go into the 9, right? Which is giving this limitless potential a direction, a space to manifest from, right? I don't know. Sorry for that little random interjection, but food for thought, or just throw it out. Moving on. to what's next, girl. We starting off. So this is my general vibe. It's gonna start off a little like, then here it's gonna culminate, and then here it's gonna be great. So it's like this is like the middle point, and we can be like, oof, or we can be like, oh, and then there's still this up here. But you know, we'll see. I have been wrong before. Ta-da. Oh, it's the Ten of Wands. Lord, another 10. We got the Ten of Swords, the Ten of Wands, and I wanted this wave, so here's this 20. Here's the Judgment 20. They're just, boom, coming down, funneling right into this Judgment. But behind this Ten of Wands is the Ace of Wands. Or is it the Two of Wands? Oh, yeah, it's the Ace. Behind this Ten of Wands is the Ace of Wands. So this is either, girl, either you give up the burdens or you don't. Either you're sitting at the space of a 10, still overburdened, or you drop them extra 9 and you go down to the 1 and you start something brand new. I don't know. Let's read it. Let's see what this Ace. Well, let me dig into this 10 first. So the 10, we have the elements of water and fire. We have both hands of the divine trying to remove this burden from us. This gives me eclipse energy because in this deck, and I'll just find it really quick because it's easier to show. Oh, well, okay, no need. Oh, I'll just put the world there. So the sun in this card is like a flower type of thing. And so you see the sun in the sky here. Let's see, there we go. Well, let's see if I can get in there. Y'all see that sign? Now look at this flower. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. They're the same. Wow. Aries is that, the Two of Wands is that new beginning. And so it's like the hands of spirit are coming in trying to remove all of these burdens and blockages. But if we hold on to them, it keeps the road closed. It keeps the barricade up. So anyway, so we have the night sky here with the sun in the sky right there. But we have the day sky here with the sun in the sky there. So that's why it gave me eclipse energy, because it's nighttime, but the sun is out. That's not the moon. That's not how she depicts the moon in this deck. But that would be the solar eclipse. So again, at the space of the solar eclipse is when it was like, for sure. If you didn't know, now you know. But now that you know, you got to do better. And that's, you know, it's only like 2 weeks in between the solar eclipse and the lunar eclipse, right? Because you go from a full moon cycle to a new moon cycle, or from a new moon cycle to a full moon cycle. So you get like 2 weeks, girl. 14 days, roughly. So that's not a lot of time. So if you're the type to dilly-dally, again, like if you've been dilly-dallying with that 8, we're like it's time to kind of sort of start running. It's like, you know, the angel tells you, hey, like we're going to be taking the city down, but you sleep like real good that night for whatever reason. And like you sleep through your alarm, and then you wake up like, oh my gosh, we got like 5 minutes until everything kick off, girl. Like, let's go. Forget everything else. Let's just go. Like, depending on how, like, you know, whatever, depending on where you fall in the spectrum. And again, energy is so fluid. This can happen in like any kind of sort of way. And the beginning of the fall may, like, depending on how the structure falls, you may notice it quicker than others areas, right? Eclipse energies kind of sort of linger for a minute. So this may not be immediate, but we're in the space of setting it up energetically right now. And our choices are being honored right now. Whatever you choose is being honored. It may not be happening in this immediate way where you think it's necessary. Like you may think you're kind of sort of in this gray area, sort of silent space where you can just scream into the void and the universe isn't listening because things are slowed down. Or you're on the other side of the spectrum where the universe is listening to a lot of the sort of more selfish, more self-based, more superficial things that you want, and you may be getting that coming in. But don't let that distract you from what's actually kind of sort of important right now. And what's important right now are the things that we can feel more so than the things that we see. And it's important for us to act on those feelings more so than the things that we see, right? Because, I mean, this is Jenga, and this tower is coming down regardless. And at the end of the day, Spirit is going to win. So You may want to watch how firmly you hold on to these things that you're supposed to let go. Because at the end of the day, spirit is gonna win. And if you may get drugged to I don't even know where if you're trying to hold on. You start in Kansas, end up in Oz, except you're in the the Oz before the Wizard of Oz showed up and kind of sort of brought some level of peace, where it's still wicked witches versus good witches and those areas of like lawlessness, girl. Or you may end up in wicked witch territory, thinking you was going to good witch territory, but you didn't let go of something when you were supposed to. So it's like kind of sort of. I never rode a trolley, but there were some forms of transportation back in the day where they never really stopped. So like you hop on when it comes by and you hop off whenever you need to get off. And if you don't hop on when it passes you, girl, it's not stopping. You just got left. And if you don't hop off, you ride in that trolley to the end of the line. Because, girl, like, you need to know when to let go. And honestly, you need to let go before this happens. You need to let go before Kali comes in and, like, I hope you got room for 7 more swords in your heart if you ain't moving when you're supposed to move. Just be prepared for it. Because so many people have been feeling things changing. So many people have been feeling these wheels of fortune. Hopefully those are the same people who are actually doing the work to make sure it happens. Because again, it's quantum. So in one reality, you already have it. So you can feel yourself having it. But in the same breath, if you don't do anything to actually claim it, you've just set yourself on a timeline where that doesn't happen. It's all in flux. It's all fluid. It's all in motion. And with this moon energy, it's happening in ways that you may not even necessarily see. You may see something still coming for you, not knowing that subtly you've already flipped the switch to split the tracks. So instead of the train going this way, you don't flip the switch and it's going that way. But until you actually reach the point where it veers off, all you see is that in the distance you're still going in that direction. But, ooh, girl, you just set yourself to go that way when originally you was going that way. Just because we all converge right now don't mean we're going to stay converged. Things may be splitting and shifting again. And with that North Node in Gemini, it's about using what you have at your disposal to make actual impact in your local environment. Whatever that means to you. Actually doing something in your life. And not just waiting for temperance. Because South Node is in Sagittarius. Temperance is not the way to go. Jupiter is retrograde right now. The Wheel of Fortune ain't just turning itself. The Wheel of Fortune is conjuncting death right now. That ride did not pass safety regulations, but there are some thrill seekers out there who will ride it anyway. There are people out there who will be like, oh my gosh, 15 people died on this roller coaster. Let's ride it. It's like, okay, girl. Take the bull by the horns. Take life into your own hands. Work. More power to you. Yes. Oh, girl. So here's that 3 of Swords and the 7 of Wands. So the 7 of Wands is a little bit better than the 7 of Swords, right? The 7 of Wands will just come in and beat you up a little bit, but they're not gonna pierce the heart. And I think the 7 of Wands is speaking to, like, actually, and it's interesting. So we get 2 cards here. I'm gonna say this is a moment where we kind of sort of branch off, where we kind of sort of split off a little bit. And there was a branching and the splitting of the upload today as well. But that split happened all the way up here, which is in this energy. But now we're kind of sort of seeing it sort of play out. So we got the 3 of Swords over here with the Queen of Wands. And then we have the 7 of Wands over here with the 10 of Pentacles. And it's interesting because these are 2 very interesting cards. Did I read the Ace of Wands? I did not. Let me read the Ace of Wands. I want to respect the creator, the collaborator at this Ace of Wands. I'm getting hungry. I love going live. It kicks up my appetite. Girl, like, I'm ready to eat. I don't know if I got any good food, but we will make it work. We'll find something. Hopefully. I'm just playing. We'll find something good to eat today. So, Ace of Wands by Karen Vogel. This Ace of Wands card signifies a time when you are radiating new energy and delight in being alive. Out of this exuberant energy comes a rebirth of your creative spark. You are inspired to. I want to interrupt this right here because I don't want to forget, and I'm not going to forget to stop reading this. Again, because it's coming to my mind. There are some people, again, some people who flip the switch. You think you're still heading towards this, but you done flipped it. You haven't come to that crossroads yet. So you can still flip it back and put yourself on the right trajectory. But there were some people when everything was being brought to the surface, instead of facing it, they ran from it. So you create. Some people have used the power of Neptune. Some people use the power of Neptune when they were trying to consciously not use the power of Neptune. It's like you thought that by not addressing the things that were coming to the surface, by not addressing the shadow of the collective that was coming to the light, you thought that was the illusion. It's like, no, the anger, the frustration, history is very much real. This impact is very much real, right? It's like, oh, everything is falling apart so that it will cause all of these feelings within us. It's like, girl, again, I don't know how y'all people interact with Dark Nights of the Soul. The way I interact with Dark Nights of the Soul, the way I interact with Tower Moments is I face them, I learn from them, and I move forward. I don't sweep the debris under the rug and pretend like the tower didn't just get struck. Everything that was being brought up within you was for you to face. So if you found ways to create a false sense of security by ignoring everything happening, you just went to Neptune. You went to Neptune, trying to escape from Neptune. It's like the shroud of Neptune was dissipating. The shroud of Neptune was falling apart. The illusion was falling apart. And you're like, ooh, I don't like what I see. I don't like what I see. Bring it back. Bring it back. So you slap another veil on top of another veil on top of another veil in front of your face, in front of your heart, in front of your spirit, keeping yourself from your soul. And your choices are honored. You chose to put yourself, you chose to seek something that was not what was really going on. You chose to seek out illusion. Okay. You know, we honor that. I just had to interject and say that for whatever reason. Because again, it's like, it's some people who, like, maybe you think you're doing the right thing by ignoring everything happening. But ignoring the work is not doing the work. I don't know how running from the shadow counts as shadow work. Like, I don't know. It's not funny, but I don't get it. There are so many things that people do and say that I don't understand. And it's like, we come into spiritual, like, wokeness, quote unquote. And you see people, like, running from shadows. It's like, girl. It's like, I don't know what that movie is, but maybe it was on TMC or Turner Classic Movies or whatever. It's like back in the day when they would run like a bunch of movie trailers within or whatever. It's like, I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. It's like that energy. People asking for the truth that they couldn't handle. So now they're running from it. You can't handle the feelings and emotions being brought to the surface, girl. It's like you can't handle what's being brought to the light. So instead of, it's like you think you're going for solar energy, but actually what you're going for is like new moon. No sunlight at all. The little bit of light you got from the moon, it's, oh my gosh, and look at this. Look at this. We get a full moon in the Pride Tarot and this, crescent moon in the SKT. Girl. And like, I'm not feeling this as a reduction of illusion. The truth that was being illuminated, the truth that has been hidden for so long, some people chose to shroud it. Thinking that they're going for the sun with the scarab energy. But girl, that's not the sun, that's a beetle. And no disrespect to, the sacred scarabs. But this is not the sun. It's something that has come to embody some solar energies, yes. It's a representative of some solar deities and some solar energies, yes. But it is not the deity. It is not the sun. It may be an embodiment of it, but it is nothing compared to the whole thing. And so don't be surprised when you don't get anything authentic because you sought something synthetic. Like it was brought to the surface to be addressed. Like, girl, I don't know. I don't know how y'all do y'all shadow work. It's y'all like there's not one right way to do shadow work. There's not one right way to do healing. So let me not speak against what other people may or may not have been doing. But in my mind, it's like that doesn't solve anything by running from it. It suppresses it for it to come up later. And either it'll come up in a way that's more volatile later because you ignored it the first time. It's like, oh, she didn't get it the first time. Let's make it painfully obvious. And I say she, I use she as a gender neutral pronoun, just like I use dude as a gender neutral pronoun, right? This ain't about female, male, in between or otherwise. It's gender neutral for me. I'm sorry. But it's like she ran from it thinking that she was solving it. And that is not the way. Because it keeps you holding on to things when you think you've let them go. You just suppress it. You see what happens is when you run from the shadow, when you continue to run from things, you suppress it. And you put it under so much pressure that it becomes part of your foundation. You don't necessarily feel the trauma anymore. You don't necessarily as viscerally feel the triggers and the impact as much anymore. But you have just done structural damage to yourself. Now you have blockages in your root that affect your sacral, your solar plexus, your heart, your throat, your third eye, and the crown. Because when it came to you to be cleansed and when it came to be purified, when it came to be released, you subjected it to depths even further than where it was, to the point where you can't even see it anymore. It's worked its way into your root. And if the root is bad, that plant is going to die. It's not going to flourish if the root is bad. And it may look pretty on the outside to some people, but if that root is bad, it's gonna rot. Root rot. Girl. So yeah, with this Three of Swords and this Queen of Wands, I feel like this Three of Swords and this Queen of Wands, I didn't even finish reading the Ace of Wands. See, I told you I wouldn't forget to finish reading the Ace, but I would have forgot what I just thought about. So I just flow with it now. That's my lesson I'm learning. So I can, maintain as much. Because sometimes I watch these back and I'm like, oh my gosh, there was like a whole line of thought, a whole terrain that just, whoop, we just like blew right by that stop. Like, oh girl, when we get to telepathic communication, I'll be able to enlighten y'all for real. My Mercury is natally in Pisces retrograde in the 12th house. So there's a lot of that stuff I can kind of sort of get, but I can't communicate it that well all the time. I'm decent at communication, but when it comes to like that, I kind of get lost because it's so much stuff down there. And it all gets so subtle and it all plays with each other on levels that you may not even necessarily comprehend at the surface or even below the surface. And I'm a Pisces, so I got 12th house energy, and my 12th house is intercepted, so my 12th house is huge. And my North Node is in the 8th house, so Anyway, this Ace of Wands card signifies a time when you are radiating new energy and delight in being alive. Out of this exuberant energy comes a rebirth of your creative spark. You are inspired to manifest in a way that may have felt difficult in the past. Doors open to new possibilities that you are uniquely qualified to pursue, and now is your time to reach for success. I feel like it was recently, but I said something about qualifications and some people not getting it. I don't remember. The thought popped into my mind and then it disappeared just as quickly. Like are so uniquely qualified for these things. But again, it's like with great power comes great responsibility. You have to prove yourself responsible first. And this has been a time of proving. At the same time, it's been a time of realization and revelation, and it's all happening at once. That's what the actual test is. The actual test is when it's all happening and going down at once and how you show up. Some people, I don't know, in my personal experience, like I was more, not that I was ever extremely like lost and felt under the wave of the energies, but you're much more, I personally, because I'm speaking personally again, I feel much more on top of it when I'm actually speaking to it, when I'm actually engaging with it, when I'm participating. And you can participate and you can engage and carry yourself in a way that you don't get swept under. And that's like literally the, okay, let me not be so absolute. That's one of the ways that light workers work the light, right? When the world gets dark, shine brighter. And it's so funny that all of this is happening because that was literally my that was my Mercury and Pisces retrograde lesson. Um, when things happened that needed to happen, and separation came into my life and some of the relationships that had become really important to me, surprisingly and shockingly fast. But as I reflected back on anything, and it was such an interesting space for me because there was a lot of time and energy and effort that I was putting out into a lot of people, not just one person, not just a few people, into a lot of people, a lot of people. And that's why at the end of February, I was starting to feel it. Beginning of March, especially, I was like, I need to pull back and I need to take care of myself because I'm starting to realize where I've been neglecting myself. Everything I've been doing, for the most part, I've been doing for other people. And now I'm in this space where I need to catch up on my own stuff. And it's not that I regret any of my choices at all. And I accept full and complete 100% responsibility for my choices. I chose to give and 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 give some more, and to not give to myself. I chose to do that. So I'm not going to hold anyone else accountable for that. But I will take a step back and I will look at, you know, how do we make this work? Where is the balance? And so there was a part of me in the beginning that felt, especially when it was a little more raw, I felt really hurt. And I tried to sort of get a little bit jaded, but then that's when that love kicked in. It's like, you know what? No, like I'm going to choose love. I'm going to practice making my love a little more unconditional. And then from that space, it was like, knowing what I know now, if I could go back and do everything again, I would have shone brighter. I would have gotten even brighter. I wouldn't have dimmed. I wouldn't have pulled away. I wouldn't have done any less. I would have done more. And it sounds. It's such an interesting concept from a 3D, more limited mindset, but from the space of like love and a more unconditional love at that. It's interesting. And at first it was really interesting, kind of sort of reconciling the heart that I was coming into with the mind that is aware of how things are perceived and that is aware of what things look like. But I don't know. But that's when I was first introduced to that, the concept of when things get hard, when things get dark, even if things didn't work out, it's to shine brighter. It's not to dim, it's not to pull away, it's to shine brighter. And so when the world gets darker, we shine brighter. It's one of the things that some of us do as light workers. And we don't shy away from the darkness that comes to the surface, because the darkness that comes to the surface is begging. It is crying. It is pleading with you to be recognized and released. But we can only release it when we fully recognize it. We can't demonize it and push it to the side and pretend like it's not happening and act like it's not our problem and claim a role of not being involved or whatever. Like, to fully integrate it, like, we have to feel it. But it's not to be lost in it, But again, it's like, in our own individual walks, we should have done enough shadow work within ourselves. We should have done enough growth. We should have gone through enough dark nights to at least be able to take a fraction of the shadow being brought to the surface to be purged collectively. Whatever you can take and transmute within yourself, you should have done. Instead of running from it, instead of pretending like it's not happening. Like, because to fight it is to let it consume you. Right? It's so interesting, but it's like, let it wash over you, but not be consumed by it. You can breathe underwater and not drown. North Node in Cancer was teaching us how to breathe underwater and to not drown. Right? North Node in Gemini is like being our own little air bubble when everything kind of sort of like does whatever. And it's so interesting I just said that because I had a dream. I said in the dream it was about environmental alchemy. So I was on the back of a griffin with some girl, and she did this like elemental check on the air as we're flying on this griffin. We're like zooming. And she's doing a check, and when it came to the air, she's like, the air is low. And so I had to tell the griffin, like, hey, slow down, like, because as we're moving so quickly, the environment is changing around us. And so I had to tell the griffin, like, I had to pat it, like, hey, slow down, like, something's wrong with the air, and we need to adjust it before we move forward, or else, us humans are gonna pass out on your back. And so she started doing some like air alchemy to introduce more air into the environment. It created like this little bubble, but it was like as she was finishing, she kind of sort of fell off. And in the dream, I don't know what happened. I think we were over a body of water. Like she was there on the griffin doing the alchemy, and then I remember she was falling off of the griffin. I can't remember if I like grabbed her and pulled her back on, or she just fell off and I kept moving. And I know I'm laughing, it ain't funny. But I was fine. Like I didn't have any air issues. Again, I don't remember what happened. I don't think she fell all the way off the griffin, because I would have told the griffin to go back and like pick her up. But at the same time, it's like I was already in a different part of the dream and we were already going to do something else. But I just think it was interesting that I said it's about creating our own bubble of air, because I saw that in the dream. And air being an element of communication, I guess. I don't know. It's like I'm doing my part. I'm saying whatever I got to say. No, if you ain't saying whatever you got to say, when everything is over, then is not the time to try to come in and have a voice. Right? It's like Paparacha from Steven Universe. It's like Paparacha, like, it's like, so they have sapphires that can see the future, and then Paparacha is, maybe she's like a off-color sapphire, where it's like she sees the future, but after it already happened. So she essentially sees the past. And so somebody will walk into a door, and it's like, oh my gosh, this person is about to walk into the door like 3 seconds after they walked into the door. 3 seconds later is too late. 3 seconds late is late. 1 second late is late. 10 months late is late. And again, it's not to put anybody under pressure, but it's like, what kind of shadow work have we been doing if we can't, like, if we're still running from shadows? And I don't want to be judgmental, but I'm posing the question. There were things that like it's happening to be purged so we can move forward into the age that everyone is manifesting, including a lot of you. But when it comes time to put in the work with North Node and Gemini, when it comes time for action with the tools that we have at our disposal in our local community, I guess if the limit of what you can do is what you can do inside of yourself, then do that. If your local community becomes who you are, like, and it's not even like the outside of you, it's like within the vessel of who you are. Okay, let me not say that. Let me not go that far. But like, if the limit of what you can do is like within you, then that's fine. Because ultimately, like, it's about us doing what we can do. And there are some people who aren't necessarily geared or prepared to really go out and to look at things. And it's not everybody's job to look at things. But for the people who would call themselves light workers, who are capable of more to have shied away. And if you don't face up to what you are capable of, you're going to miss out, because it's one of the things that you sort of put on your roadmap it's one of the challenges that you set yourself up to face. Because in the overcoming of it, there was something for you to claim. So if you don't overcome it, you're not going to claim it. And again, like, it looks different for everybody. We all, like, our personal lives don't stop just because the collective things come up. And again, it's not like with the Two of Pentacles, it's about balance. It's about doing your part, and your part is different for everybody. There are many, 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 many roles. There is no one size fits all way to work light, but we should be working some light. And it's not for us to beat ourselves up, or it's not for us to feel down, but we have a little bit of time right here before, like, you know, where we can run before this apocalypse kind of sort of happens, and before things kind of sort of break down and fall apart. I don't think I even finished reading the Ace of Wands. Goodness, how long was I on that? Ace of Wands by Carol Vogel. Again, excuse me. This Ace of Wands card signifies a time when you are radiating new energy and delight in being alive. Out of this exuberant energy comes a rebirth of your creative spark. You are inspired to manifest in a way that may have felt difficult in the past. Doors open to new possibilities that you are uniquely qualified to pursue, and now is your time to reach for success. If you've been doing the work, don't feel unqualified, because you are. I instantly knew I wanted to paint this card with the image of a new Mexican whiptail lizard on the spiral wand. Whiptail lizard is an all-female species that reproduces through parthenogenesis. I feel like I've heard parthenogenesis, but I may have read this entry before. Where an ovum becomes an embryo without being fertilized by a sperm. This process is an apt metaphor for the creative spark ignited to start a new endeavor. The spiral wand is a symbol of DNA in these lesbian lizards, quote unquote, who engage in same-sex sexual behavior. The background is the Ghost Ranch, the longtime home and inspiration for Georgia O'Keeffe, a prolific artist with a unique vision. And of course, like, if it's an all female species of lizard, girl, the lizards still want to get down, and ain't nobody to get down with but other females. So don't let them bunch up on you. Calm down. Not saying anybody is bunching up, but, you know, parthenogenesis. The egg fertilizes itself. Oof. The egg fertilizes itself outside of what's happening in the world. And again, it's like, you should be able to flourish regardless of what's going on around you. Right? And there's a difference between flourishing despite what happens and flourishing in spite of what happens. I don't know what it is. I do know. One is like you being able to flourish regardless of what your situation looks like and being able to interact with it. And the other is like you isolating, you going hermit mode, you retreating from everything and creating a little haven for yourself. And again, it works different for different people. There are many different roles. And we do it within the collective by doing it for each other. But at the same time, it's like, you know, you can do both simultaneously at points too. And there are some people who will come into a point where they do both. Right? It's all about where we need to go and where we need to be at the moment that we need to be there. And again, it is a timed thing, but it's not at the same time. Because if now isn't, like, who's to say that your time isn't later? Right? There are so many, like, origin stories of someone who ran once, someone who failed to rise to the occasion one time, but then they use that experience to propel them to never do the same. Right? And again, the journey is different for everybody. But at some point, you're going to have to own up to things. At some point, you're going to have to face reality, and not just the version of reality that you were experiencing that was free of all of the very real issues that was happening and happened, right? And again, it's like when the mist of Neptune dissipated, some people fought so hard to put it back in front of their eyes. And it's so polarized on both sides, but the heart doesn't lie. Again, like, so now we're moving into the Three of Swords with the Queen of Wands. And I'm feeling the Three of Swords with the Queen of Wands as you kind of sort of stick into the narrative that you already have. The Queen of Wands is the one who has owned herself. And so it's almost like when the Queen of Wands is encountered with something that is new to her as the Queen of Wands, if it is her but she doesn't recognize it, she will almost refute it as not her, because she prides herself on her shadow work, right? And her shadow work just being like full acceptance of herself, to the point where she exudes and radiates confidence in herself, to the point that it is very like magnetic and attractive to other people. But again, like, there's this, as we're coming into new energy, there's this danger of old royalty as opposed to the pages of a new age, right? Old royalty being kings and queens, right? Well, this is how it worked back in old energy. This is how it worked up until now. Well, girl, things have changed. What worked in the past ain't necessarily gonna work no more. You can't shove a VHS sort of tape into a little Blu-ray slot. Like, you can't put a cassette tape into your iPhone or into a smartphone, into a computer, unless you have an adapter for it. But like, we've updated. You can't keep shoving old media into this new space. The story is not going to play out how like you expected. Things have changed. It's not time to be fixed. It's time to learn the new system. It's time to be flexible. Right? It's like, what's the point of coming into a new era with old baggage? It's like somebody said, it's like moving into a new house and you move old furniture into the new house, and so your new house smell is immediately just like your old house smell. It's like, why come into a new space to bring the same things? Right? And it's a metaphor. There are many reasons why you would take old furniture to a new place, right? I'm not saying you got to throw everything away. I'm saying be open to seeing this space more in the potential of what it could be. And this new space has potential so much more boundless and limitless than the potential that was in the old space, that if you treat it the same, you're missing out on so much of what this was. And that's like, it's almost like it really isn't. It really isn't. But it's almost this paradox or this riddle of like, oh, but like, what do you mean I'm supposed to start over? To continue to be in that Queen of Wands energy is to keep your heart from growing. And if this is the space you're in, here's 3 swords. I hope you got room for 7 more, because that destroyer is coming. And she's got big swords. She's got really, really, really big swords. Like, these swords look pretty big. Oof, girl. Well, let's compare. Let's compare. Let's compare swords, shall we? Or you can compare. I'll leave the judgment up to you. If you can see that, you should be able to see it. Like, I leave it to you. And then on this side, we have the 7 of Wands with, what was this again? The 10 of Pentacles. And the 10 of Pentacles being the feeling of everything. The 10 of Pentacles is everything we feel coming when the Wheel of Fortune moves. Because a lot of people feel fortune turning. But again, it's like this way and that way. Are you going to set yourself on course to actually get it, or are you going to miss out on it? The way to actually get this is to stand in defiance of whatever, like to stand. I keep turning it upside down. I don't need to do that. To stand in direct opposition to everything happening. When the world gets dark, shine brighter. Right? Keep fighting. Don't run. This is Mars in Leo energy. Mars is exalted in Leo. What's this? Saturn in Libra. Oof. Saturn is in Capricorn. It's a square to this energy and a trine to this energy. So if we look at aspects, if we look at trines as favorable, this is what to do. Stand strong, Mars. Keep fighting. This is what not to do. Because, you know, Saturn is in square to this aspect, and Mars is in trine to this one. So, click clack. I don't know what click clack mean, but click clack. Click clack is the sound of the heels as they walk away from whatever this foolishness was. As she comes home, welcome home, babe. I've already got, I would say I have dinner ready, but I was waiting because, you know, maybe there's something that you want that I wouldn't have thought of that's like really good. Don't mind me, y'all. Queen of Wands by Steve Hutton. My first artistic decision when asked to draw the Queen of Wands was immediate. She isn't human. I drew her more animal than woman. Girl, I know that it's supposed to be positive, but this is more animal than human. This is more falling into the program than using your own thinking, reasoning, rational, logical mind. And there are so many times when we think we're breaking the program, but we're just falling into it. It's like, because I was thinking about the whole Matrix thing the other day, right? And there are so many people who are prophesying the end days right now. And I'm not going to buy into it. I'm not buying into it. Even if it begins to happen, I still won't buy into it. Call me stubborn, Taurus. Call me a dreamer, Pisces. Call me maybe one of the many stuff. Call me someone who will see the best for this planet and who will do everything within my little energetic power to make it manifest. You're welcome. Even if you don't see it, you don't have to. You don't even have to thank me when it's all over. Because, you know, my ultimate reward will be the peace that I'm living in. So that's all the thanks I need. That's all the reward I need is my little 10 of pennies and my 10 of cups and my lovers and, you know, my Wheel of Fortune. And, you know, it's good. It's good. It's good. It's Gucci. I don't need anything from you. The universe has me. What was I about to say? Animalistic. Yeah, because it was like, so I was raised in the church, and they always talked about the end days. They talk about the mark of the beast and how you're going to get marked. You know, you watch the Left Behind movies, you watch the Megiddo or the Megiddo movies, and it's all about the end days, and it's about this end of the age of Pisces in a way. But it's almost like the program that has been running on this planet knew that it would not run forever. It hoped it would, but in case things, in case it started to lose control, what it did was it created this program where at the end of the system, it's going to try to delete everything. It's like if I can't win the game, it's like it's trying to throw the chessboard off of the table when it knows that it's losing. And that's the program that it brought up. And so it brings up, well, your only alternative to taking the mark of the beast is to go off grid and to regress and to live a natural life. And there's nothing wrong with living a natural life. But at the same time, progression shouldn't come at the expense of progression. It should build upon it. It should elevate. It should rise. Why is our only option to completely abandon everything? The program created a program for when the program ends. And that's the program that a lot of people buy into. It's the fear behind the fear. It's the, because like it only works when you buy into it, right? And so if you don't see a third option or a fourth option or a fifth option where the system falls and we don't have to go off grid, We can keep our toilets, we can keep our electricity, we can keep our grocery stores, we can keep our food, we can keep everything else, and we can still restructure the system, right? It's not an either or. It's like you're either buying into the program or you're buying into the program that the program is like telling you to buy into. Like in the Matrix movies, if you haven't seen it, Zion is Zion, but it's not an actual free city. The architect tells Neo, like, you know how many Zions there have been? Like, we gave y'all the illusion of freedom. So even when you're not in the program, you're still abiding by the rules of the program. The only way out of the program is to actually think for yourself. And again, it's like, if you are tied to an energy, you can't see beyond the end of that energy. And for some people, trying to see or trying to perceive beyond the end of that energy is cataclysmic. Because what is there outside of everything that you have known? It's the whole world falling apart. It's disaster. It's calamitous. The whole world. But if you're tapped into an energy outside of the energy, if you're tapped into the energy that will come after this energy, the energy that will succeed this energy, if you're tapped into Aquarius instead of into Pisces, you'll begin to see that the end of the era of Pisces, the end of the age of Pisces, isn't quite as disastrous as it would seem. And it's kind of like the Oracle kind of sort of basically said as much at the end of the movie, at the end of the third movie, when the architect is like, how did you know that, like, he was the one? How did you know that he would actually do it this time? How did you know it would be any different? And she said, I didn't know, but I believed. Because even inside the, like, even I don't know. And like I say even I because I speak of, I'm speaking what I'm speaking right now. I don't know what it's going to look like. But I know that option number 1 and option number 2 aren't suitable. And it's not for me to know exactly what it looks like because it is yet to be created. It's for me to participate in energetically opening up the space for us to enter it. And like I said a while ago, I'm trying to hold enough space for a conscious planet and everybody on top of it. I'm trying to manifest it for everybody. And I kind of sort of mean it, weirdly enough. But again, like I said, it's because, like, my reward is the peace that comes after, right? That's my incentive to continue to believe. Just like when World War III, like when all that stuff was going down, I was like, no, not in my reality. It's pointless. And nobody actually wants this. It's old systems that can stay in power a little bit longer if we go through with this. But when it comes to the actual consciousness of this planet, when it comes to the hearts of the people on this planet and the direction that they're moving in, nobody wants this. So this is not going to happen. Like, no. Right? When things get dark, shine brighter. It's like we have a mind and our hearts for exactly this purpose. Because when given two alternatives, we can choose to do something different. We can be the wild card. We can be the jokers. We are the fools. Like, that's us. And it's our journey through life, our journey through the major arcana. But we are the fools. We do something a new way. Something that's never been done before. Something that the old energies weren't equipped to handle. But the new ones are. And it's quantum. It's already done. But it can still be undone if we don't do it. So, anyway. That's kind of sort of what I'm feeling with this. And that's why I thought it was interesting that it said that the Queen of Wands, like, it chose to depict the Queen of Wands as an animal instead of as a person. And I understand where it comes from, but I just think it's interesting. Because the animalistic part of the brain is the part of the brain that worries where our next meal is going to come from. It's the part of the animalistic part of the brain is the part of us that even when we try to rebel, we still don't bite the hand that feeds us because animals know better. Right? Even when, like, you think you're playing, right? It's like me with Chino. I know he's not actually attacking me. If he barks at me, if he scratches me or nibbles at me a little bit, I know he's not actually attacking me. He's just playing. It's still a game. You're not breaking the game by playing it. You just chose option B. You chose the B path in the game instead of the A path. So you get a little bit of a different story, or you get the same story but just from a different perspective. My first artistic decision, again, this is Steve Hutton, Queen of Wands, when asked to draw the Queen of Wands was immediate. She isn't human. I drew her more animal than woman, and in doing so cast off all those preconceptions we might have about appearance, age, gender, or race, and so on. I wanted to let her true strength shine through, her positivity. Where her wand passes, dormant branches spring to life and bear fruit, and her aura cuts through the murk to reveal the hidden sun. The opportunity to illustrate the Queen of Wands came along at a bleak time in my own life, and so it was revivifying to indulge in her energy and spirit, and I hope she offers the same blessing for the users of this deck. Now it's interesting, because again, I see how it's intended, and in any other space it would be that. But in this space, it falls along this energy, where instead of facing the full moon in all of its fullness, we choose to dilute it with darkness and then to make the best of that. It's like you're making the best of a lose-lose choice when there's a win that has yet to be conceived. And again, it's like that's the thing about spirituality. Truly, it's all about trust. It's all about belief. It's all about faith. It's all about the things that you can't see. And we live our lives based off of the things that we interact with, for the most part. But again, I don't know. Y'all already know how I feel. It's not necessary for me to continue. But that's the Three of Swords. The Seven of Wands, to continue to fight, is the Ten of Pentacles. I almost forgot, but I remembered. Ooh, how long is this? I don't even care. I'm not going to look at the time. It is what it is. The Ten of Pentacles by Dr. Frankie Dolan. Two women stand beneath the archway of pentacles. Two women. This is interesting because this here was an either or, right? The Ten of Wands was like us holding on to it. The Ace of Wands was us choosing to move forward. We have two women in this Ten of Pentacles, and then we have the lesbian lizards here. Interesting. Okay. Two women stand beneath the archway of pentacles, which reigns. Oh, by the way, this is the Pride Tarot, so LGBTQ plus themes are, heavily applied and expected. So again, two women stand beneath the archway of pentacles, which reigns over their lives. One woman promises the other, "I will love you forever," as she offers her a bloom from her heart. There is a flash, then a boom. An awakening of love showers over them both. "My God," says the other woman, "I never knew this could ever happen to me." She closes her eyes and falls deeply within her soul. She takes a breath, remembers her childhood dreams, and accepts the rose from this rainbow garden of love. Because they allow themselves to live in love together, they create a life full of family, wealth, and eternal love. The divine meaning here is nurture honest love and gain abundant riches, joy, security, and family. And I love it says that like she closes her eyes and falls into her soul, and our soul is that light that exists at the heart of the void that is the space in our vessel, right? It's that one little bit of light that never, I would say never goes out, but I guess it's the part of us that continues to fight. What stands strong amidst all the odds is love. And the heart of humanity is waking up. Like, I see it. I felt it before I could see it, but now I definitely see it. I was like, okay. Last but not least, the Nine of Pentacles. This Nine of Pentacles is telling me we can only save ourselves. You can't save nobody else who don't want to be saved. And it's really funny because it's coming out with this Five of Swords. And the Five of Swords in the Pride Tarot is the victim finally standing their own ground. The Five of Swords in a lot of decks, and I'll just pull it. It's the Hector in this deck. If I can see. Oh, we got two knights. And they're looking at each other. That Knight of Wands is looking at that Knight of Pentacles, and that Knight of Pentacles is looking at that Knight of Wands. Where there you go. Like what? That's like somebody walking in front of you in the hallway, but you can't pass them up. And this Knight of Pentacles is like, we doing this the right way, sir. I ain't letting you out of my sight because last time you just ran amok, causing trouble. And then, of course, the Knight of Pentacles. The Knight of Pentacles is the slowest knight in the deck because he's the one that got to go up and go back and clean up after everybody else. He can't even get to where he going because he's so. That's that Virgo energy too. Virgo and Pisces, that axis of servitude. Sagittarius and Gemini, like they care about other people, but they ain't necessarily slowing down for nobody else. They're like, you just gotta learn. Here's that the Holy See. Oh, that's well. There's the Fool, the Initiate. Here's the Holy See that's holding up that the hand sign that was at the bottom of the Ten of Wands or the Ten of Swords, and then there's the Priestess right behind the Holy See. Ooh, with that Six of Pentacles. Okay, work. Strength card, Six of Swords. Okay, work. I see you. Where's this Five of Swords? Ooh, girl. What card was that? This Nine of Swords. Get back in the deck. I'm not with you. Get back in the deck. I'm not playing that game. I'm not. Here's the Sun too. So you see how the Sun is like really floral in this deck? That's why I was saying like up here, that's the Sun, but it's the eclipse because it's night outside, but the Sun is out. Ooh, the Sun is with that Ten of Cups too. Love it. Where is this Five of Swords? Is it going to be at the top of the deck? Don't tell me I looked through all these cards for the Five of Swords. The Five of Swords was literally at the top of the deck. I'm pulling from the bottom. Literally at the top of the deck. Oh my gosh. Why am I pulling this Five of Swords? Yes. That's why. So you see in this card how in the Five of Swords you have the victor and then you got the people in the back sort of slinking away. Right? Yeah, you got the people in the back slinking away. This is the person who slunk away deciding to not slink away any longer. And I'm still going to read the entry for the Five of Swords. And that's why you see his arm sort of wrapped up in a sling. It is in a sling, right? Yeah. Like, it's someone who's taken enough punches to know, okay, like, this ain't it. But that's the only way to, like, really claim this Nine of Swords, or this Nine of Pentacles. It's going to be the ones who truly rise, the ones who truly stand. You know, who really face it. You got to face it head on. And look, he's holding this sword against what? The shadows in the back, right? Facing the shadows and not running away from them and then internalizing all this trauma, stuff like that. That's very real, right? But not completely necessary. Or it's not that it isn't necessary, but it's not your only option, right? It's like that episode of Black Mirror, that one interactive episode of Black Mirror, right? When he's like, there's no real choice in the game, but you give the player the illusion of choice so that they think they chose whatever, but in reality, you already made the choice for them. Like, that's the energy of like thinking that you're breaking the matrix, but in reality, you're still in the matrix because you're still like, you're taking like their option or you're taking their way out. But if you take their way out, you're still doing it by their rules. It's about seeing what isn't seen. And that's why these moons are coming out. Like, I don't have to continue. Like, my point has already been made clear. Excuse me. I had to get that yawn out. The Five of Swords by Devin Khalil Ferries. The original meaning of the Five of Swords card represents conflict and dishonorable action, such as bullying and unfair fights. Traditionally, the card focuses on the individual who seems to have been the aggressor, who has separated from the group. In this Five of Swords, the victor is now the person who has suffered injustices and hostilities. Here, he has distanced himself by overcoming abuse, trauma, and prejudice. I wanted to illustrate a black trans individual overcoming those very obstacles and coming out on top. The two figures in the background are the very manifestations of bullying and oppression that trans people, specifically trans people of color, deal with on a daily basis. And I mean, I feel like, it's self-explanatory. But again, like, we can all only fight for ourselves. We can't fight for anybody else. But it's like we can't, but we can. You know? But shoot, I may just be manifesting a timeline where I'm chilling with y'all higher selves. So it's like y'all still there, but it's an aspect of y'all there. And so when y'all go to sleep at night and when y'all have regrets about the stuff that y'all didn't do, that's the reality I'm in, where you actually did it. Let me stop. I have to take a sip. So these 3 cards that came out with the moon. First, the Archangel of Healing. I love this. It's all that, like, this is what it's about, babes. Do I say that? Why did I just want to say that? I don't say babes. This is what it's all about, babes. Who am I? Like, but real, like, true healing, like legitimate healing, like facing the shadow and healing it, not doing your best to pretend like it's not there, not band-aiding it. And it's something that, like, we need to address, but we also need to remember so that we don't repeat it. So that we don't need to go, like, oranges versus nectarines versus tangerines versus tangelos versus cuties versus halos versus mandarin and versus, girl, all this other stuff. Like, no. The 5 of Pentacles. The 5 of Orbs, the Vagabond. I'm actually going to read the spirit resident of the Vagabond. Because I'm going to say this is, again, it's the strength to go it alone even if you're at odds with the world at large. Because the healing that you've done within yourself gives you the courage to know that you're not alone as you face this. Potentially. What song is that? Are there any words in that song, or is it just? So the spirit occupant, the vagabond. The spirit resident in this card is the vagabond, a wanderer with no sense of home or even identity, and also one who is still in search for meaning. This is the spirit of restlessness, the spirit of the nomad, and a transience necessary for the wanderer-seeker to leave behind the material and cross over the threshold into the realm of the spiritual. The archetype of the vagabond is one who feels alienated, solitary, yet stubborn and insists on self-sufficiency, refusing help as compared to the 6 of Orbs. And yet, noting its primordial influences, the vagabond is tough, resourceful, and a survivor. Call upon this spirit to help you navigate out of your own material troubles. This spirit teaches toughness and resilience. So yeah, this is about what I really honed in on is coming out of the material perspective. Coming out of the material perspective and coming into the spiritual perspective. And the material and the spiritual perspectives don't always line up. And it's not the change is not always immediate. But that's why this dedication and determination, this steadfastness with the 7 of Wands right here, that's why that steadfastness is important. And last but not least is the healer, the star, Aquarius. Aquarius. Get into it. Yes. Work says it's the healer, it's the star, it's the Aquarius. It's like, this is like, we have the moons up here, we got the star right here. The moon waxes and wanes. This star is forever. When the moon goes dark, when the world gets dark, shine brighter, babes. Okay, gosh, I need to stop. I really need to stop. And that's where I'm going to end this. I'm not going to say any more. I mean, everything else is pretty self-evident and apparent. y'all know I like to get a final message before I wrap things up. It just helps clear out the energies already here, and gives us a little bit of food for thought to wrap up with. And I will I Ching that. Actually, I am going to I Ching, since we got the Archangel of Healing and the Healer. Literally just noticed that. We got the Archangel of Healing and the Healer. I'm going to do that I Ching real quick to see what that is. And I'm going to put these at the bottom, I guess. I'm about to eat. I've been on here for hours. 3 hours. Wow, 3 hours and 3 seconds when I looked at it. 030003. Or 3000. So 2 3s and 3 zeros. 30003. Interesting. What am I looking at? I Ching. Okay, I forgot already, y'all. That was, so the star is the top and the King of Cups is the bottom. This is Lake Over Water. Lake Over Water is number 47, Iron Hand. Ooh, this is interesting. Well, that Five of Pentacles was in the middle, y'all, so that was the one that was all resilient and resourceful and not looking at things with the physical eyes, but looking at things with the spiritual eyes, where we really realize that we don't have to fall into either camp. This is oppression, Iron Hand, and feeling trapped. Did I do this right? Upper trigram, lake. Lower trigram, water. Yes. It's also interesting because the image that popped into mind, it's like there was a body of water or something where the water at the bottom was denser than the water at the top. So it was like this dude in a scuba suit who was like putting water into a barrel. And it's like, how do you put water into a barrel when it's all in water? But it's the water under the lake. It's what runs in the undertow. It's the densest part, right? That's why it naturally just sits below everything else. So even if you put this denser water at the top, it's gonna sink right back down to the bottom. A state of inner oppression. You are overwhelmed, unable to cope with your feelings of entanglement. There is indecisiveness in the face of what you see as your adversity. Yet you are being oppressed by that which is not oppressive. You can still prevail in spite of the initial oppression. You are oppressed by bonds that can be broken easily. The oppression is in your mind. Reconcile logic, reason, and rationality with emotional expression, intuition, and spiritual understanding. Find the common ground between both hemispheres of your brain, between the natural and the spirit, and know that anything happening on the physical is not like, again, the things that are happening are very real, and the things that are happening need to be addressed so that we as a collective don't fall into the same patterns, moving forward. It's like, if we can't even interact and engage with each other, then how are we supposed to, Ace of Wands, how are we supposed to interact and engage with other species? We'll just say. Other beings, other entities, we'll just say. Right? If we can't even handle each other. And who was it? Somebody said that, like, humanity will only come together if there's a common threat of, like, some kind of alien invasion or something. I'm like, girl, why we need alien invasion? Why do we need an enemy to come together? Why can't we just come together? Like, let's break that program first and foremost. Like, we don't need a common enemy to see each other. Like, we can just come together and work together, girl. Like, I see you, you see me, cool. Like, But apparently, Age of Pisces, old program, that's not how it worked. Age of Aquarius, new program. And again, that's what I feel like. It's like when he said, like, you're oppressed by something that is not oppressive. I feel like we're giving more power to the program by choosing the option B, when we can choose a C, a D, a E, a Z, a 2, a 3, a quillfish. Quillfish is a Pokemon. A pufferfish. We can choose a Pokemon. Like, we ain't gotta choose A or B. We can choose anything we want. That's our power as, sparks of divine source energy. Okay. Oh, well, that was quick. Bottom of the deck is the Nine of Swords. That Nine of Swords that fell out earlier. Oh, goodness, there it is. You just want to be seen. And I got 2 cards, so we get to do another I Ching. Yes. Okay, I'm curious to see what's on the top of the deck. Top of the deck is the Knight of Swords, with the Nine of Swords at the bottom of the deck. I think that's seeing a way out. Oh girl. Oh girl. Ooh, the Eight of Wands and the Moon. And that she is pointing right at that moon too. Somebody is about this is about I think spirit or somebody is about to really dislodge these illusions. I've never seen it this way, but it's like this lunar eclipse is like this. You see the part of the moon that's shaded in. I'm seeing it like that's the shadow of the scarab. That's the scarab shadow. The scarab was illustrated to represent the sun in this, but it's like that's the shadow of the scarab that is keeping us from seeing the truth. And so again, the scarab is not the sun. The scarab is an embodiment and a representative of solar deities. It is representative of the sun in some ways, but it is not the sun. The beetle can never replace the sun. The beetle can never replace the deity. The beetle is a beetle. It can be symbolic of it, but it is not that in its entirety. It is too small to hold all of what the sun is. And so here we have this sharpshooter. So again, it's like this is a false light. And so here we got the sharpshooter coming in, taking out the false light so we can see the actual sun for the first time. And that is beautiful. That is gorgeous. So for all my sharpshooters out there, keep y'all arrows trained. And I've been feeling lately that Eight of Wands energy as divine intervention or divine understanding. It started as divine intervention, it evolved into divine understanding. I'm feeling it more as divine understanding because this is something that we have to come to within ourselves, right? Something like this we have to do for ourselves. Honestly, truly. I am going to do that I Ching thing. I'm going to use the moon as the upper trigram and that Eight of Wands as the lower trigram. We'll see what we get. Ooh, girl. Well, let's see. Oh, it's already here. It's all on the same page. So this is going to be Double Thunder. Double Thunder is interesting. Double Thunder is real interesting. This is 51, sharp turn. Oof. A sharp turn. This is like we're going down a path. We're going down the highway, looking at the map. Our GPS is busted. We're using an old map, so the roads look different, but out of the corner of our eye, we see the exit that we need. But if we're going too fast, we're not going to be able to slow down to catch it. It's like, oh, that was our stop, but we just missed it. If you're not paying attention, you're going to miss it completely. So at least you were paying attention. Unexpected sharp turn, a great thunderstorm. And this is Jun. The shock of fate has hit you. Oof, I love this. The shock of fate has hit you. Circumstances seem beyond your control. In the wake of cataclysm, your will is weakened. You cannot allow that to happen. In the wake of cataclysm, your will is weakened, and we cannot allow that to happen. When the world gets dark, shine brighter. I already said it. While you cannot control the circumstances, you can control your mental response. Learn to maintain your composure in the face of cataclysm. Do not be terrified by the thunder and lightning. The outcome is not as bad as you dreaded. Regain your inner strength. You must persist onward in your endeavor, in spite of blows. In time, you will fully recover what you have lost. It is still auspicious to go forth on your endeavor. So for any of y'all who needed a little bit of encouragement to keep fighting the good fight, even when it starts to look dark, even when it looked like you're giving into the plight that they would push on you, just know it ain't over until it's over. And one ending is not but a new beginning. Girl, I feel like I want to wax real poetic. Maybe I should write some poetry. No, I'm much more of a narrative person than a poetry writer. I do want to write like a song one day. I feel like I do a lot of little like 5-second little things randomly, like a lot. I can turn anything into a song. If my life were a movie, If I were completely 100% authentically me and my life were a movie, it would literally be a musical. But it would probably be that musical where I'm the only person singing and everybody else is like, what is he doing? So it'd be like a musical, but like meta. The card that came out, ooh, girl, well, came out, flipped over, fell on the floor. Is it good or is it bad? Oh, it's still face down. Ooh, and it's in reverse. The Three of Pentacles in reverse? I'm going to take it up right, though. This is, so it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be a fight for us to come together, but we will come together. The Three of Pentacles in this deck, I'm going to read it. Ooh, there's that strength. I love the strength card in this deck. Strength at the bottom of the deck. We're going to have, even when it flip, flapping, falling on the floor, come out upside down, we turning it upright. We got the strength to do that. I'm going to read it, but the Three of Pentacles in this deck is about chosen family. You may have found nothing but rejection and heartache and heartbreak where you were, but we get to choose our own path forward, right? We don't have to end where we started. And that's your little bit of encouragement for the day. I didn't take a picture for the thumbnail, so it'll be what it is. Let me go back to this ebook, this PDF. Now, the Book of Maps is an actual ebook. This is a PDF. And I only make that distinction because the Book of Maps has bookmarks. Or it has like a table of contents that's interactive, so it's really nice. I created bookmarks in this one so I left them at the suits. Where am I going? What did I just say? The Three of Pentacles. Okay. Wow, I'm kind of sort of recalling stuff today. Work. Three of Pentacles by Johanna Powell Colbert. I don't know. Colbert. Johanna Powell Colbert, girl, or Johanna Powell Colbert. I don't know. The Three of Pentacles is about collaboration, teamwork, and coming together with others to create something that benefits the greater community. An elderly woman offers free grandma hugs. Oh my gosh, I want a hug so bad. Like a really, really, really good hug and some cuddles. Oh my gosh, that's the Taurus in me. And the Pisces and everything else. If you meet me IRL, especially like before like this year, last year, I put out a persona that is so cold. But I actually I am really cuddly. At a pride parade, so I'll start that again. An elderly woman offers free grandma hugs at a pride parade to any young person who has been rejected by their own family because of their sexual orientation. Other friends and family members also carry signs of love and support. The entire parade is a community collaboration that proclaims to the world that LGBTQ+ youth are loved, celebrated, and supported just as they are. I chose to interpret the Three of Pentacles in this way after being moved to tears at our local Pride Parade, watching so many young people being embraced by surrogate mothers, fathers, and grandparents. So again, I'm kind of sort of feeling like a cosmic ancestors, cosmic family type of thing, right? Because like even though like those who would identify as light workers and starseeds are the ones responsible, are the ones who position themselves to anchor and seed that level of love and light on this planet where it didn't necessarily exist before. It hasn't existed, let's be honest. Where it hasn't existed before, it's y'all's responsibility who would identify as that, and our responsibility as a conscious being on this planet. I will include myself, or as a consciousness that has chosen to incarnate on this planet. It's our job to really root and establish that, right? And it's like we can't wait until it's already there to build it, because then it's already there, right? And personally for me, I've never necessarily quite feel like I fit in, but I've never necessarily felt homesick either. And so for me personally, it's not about I want to go home, I want to leave this planet, like I don't like it here, blah, 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 whatever. For me, it's always been a matter of creating it. Creating home if there isn't one. Proceeding in a way where the environment comes to be more of what I truly desire. Excuse me, rather than just sort of trying to separate myself from it or pretend like it's not there. It's about creating it, and it emanates from the inside out. You know, it's been my journey. So, yep, that's where I'm gonna leave this. These are the two decks I use: the Pride Tarot and the Spirit Keepers Tarot. I hope you have a great time. I honestly hope you do, and I hope you're doing everything that you need to do to get to that great time that you feel coming. I will catch y'all later. Bye bye.